Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Cavaya, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors, Mission Bauer, Tour, Alkali, La Beta, Rink Rat, Conix, Warrior, Monkey Sports, Yord Watches, Car Shield, Rocket Puck, Wraparound, and Top Shelf Targets. We look forward to seeing you all on the rink soon.
Well, welcome, everybody. We've got State Wars Hockey Podcast number 12. I'm Tim McManus, and with my counterpart, Greg Thompson, here on beautiful Long Island, New York on this Thursday. What's it, May 14th?
Yeah.
How's it going out in Patchogue today, GT?
It's going, man. Beautiful day in the neighborhood. So I figured I'd crack open a summer shandy to enjoy the nice weather today. So
Yeah,
hopefully we can get out today after the podcast and enjoy some fresh air.
Yeah, no, definitely a nice day for a cold one.
Yeah.
Got our koozies today. Definitely looking forward to this podcast. Got some bad news yesterday. My grandmother passed away last night, so found out about that. So I'll do a cheers for her.
Yeah. Sorry to hear about that again.
Yeah, today. It's one of those things. She was 97 and not COVID related. Even though I'm sure somehow Governor Cuomo or the government will somehow use her number as another COVID death in their numbers to persuade us all to stay in the house. But no, just one of those things, old age, unfortunately. And just sucks. But, just stinks during this time when you really can't pay respects the proper way and whatnot. So, I'll share with you one funny story about her, and then we'll move on. Just made me think of it this morning. She was 97, and about 10 years ago or so, before she broke her hip 7 years ago and went into a nursing home, never came out. But before that, she was always on her feet and, sharp as a tack. But I remember in her late 80s, we drove upstate to see my brother, and she was sitting shotgun. And my wife and one of my kids was probably in the back seat. We were going upstate to Albany, about a 4-hour drive. And, she never drove her whole life. So she was not in cars a lot, but got rides places or whatnot. But I had navigation on in the car, and, she had never seen a navigation system or anything or known what it was. So I remember I didn't use the navigation most of the way, but as we got closer to my brother's house, I had thrown it on because there were a lot of side streets and whatnot. And I'll never forget, the voice of the woman coming on to tell, make a right turn or something like that. And she almost jumped out of her seat. I was like, what the fuck? I think she thought I had a woman tied up in the trunk of the car. So it was,
Kim.
Yeah. It was just really amusing thinking back to that. I always laughed at that because just technology and just thinking about someone who, basically stayed home for the last 10 years of her life, got deliveries of groceries and whatnot. And here she is. He hears this navigation go off, and how to us it was just a normal thing. Even to my 4-year-old daughter at the time, it was normal. But to her, she thought we had kidnapped someone and tied him up in the trunk, and they were getting loose or whatnot. So it was just really funny, and just made me think of that this morning. Thought I'd share that one.
Yeah, it's a good story, and those are the memories you'll never forget.
Yeah, just good stuff. Obviously Glass Half Full Productions here. I'm not going to harp on the bad things here. So just excited for this podcast. We got two great players, both from the 1993 birth year. And it got me thinking, Greg, maybe we'll have some birth year days where we have two players like today. It was done by accident today. So that might be kind of cool. So we have two great 93s, today. So we got Nick Okada from Ohio, who's been part of State Wars since the beginning. His family's been part of State Wars. We all know Jane, his mom, is the pin lady at the tournament. His dad, Dave's always running around and coaching, helping out, doing his thing. So just a great family, and they've always been a big help to us, especially the years we were in Ohio, in Cincinnati.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So we'll get into that with him. And then, we got Kevin Dwyer, goaltender, 93s from Colorado. He didn't get started until 07 with us. And then, he was on and off a bit. And then he came back, played with Colorado a bunch of years. Then played with Missouri a bit when he went to school out there. And now he's a big part of the PAMA Pro division as a goaltender for the Conix Pure team. So looking forward to both these guys.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I didn't realize that I knew it in the back of my head, but I didn't realize, they're both 93s and they both are on today. So that's kind of cool. And I like that. It'd be cool to get some 89s on, or, some old school kids who started back when, maybe like a Tallow and a Johnny Mack,
Yeah.
that'd be kind of cool. Mr. Mack would love to come on as well. I know we brought it up the other day, maybe having him on pretty soon. So
Yeah,
that'd
I
be
think
pretty
Mr.
cool
Mack
too.
would be great. And like you said, we'll have to probably get someone to hook his Commodore 64 up with the internet and get him on here
Oh
and
yeah.
whatnot. But
Yep.
I think he'd be a fun guest for sure.
Yeah.
That's the hard part with this, right? You want to mix. You want someone who's got some really cool history with State Wars and maybe some good stats, a top player, if you would. But then you need someone with some personality. Like the other day we had Cody Kettler on, who has both, right? Great personality and has done a lot. And then we have Max Halverson on, who's a little on the shyer side, and
Not that he doesn't have a good personality. It's just he's
shy,
he's on the quiet side. Yeah.
And he even wrote me afterwards about that. He's just a little shy, and I made a joke about how it's like pulling teeth a little bit with him, and he was missing the big tooth in the front. But he's just a shyer, younger guy, so he's not as comfortable with joking around. So, but he has amazing stats. So it's hard to find guys with a little bit of everything. But we have had some people reaching out to us wanting to get on the podcast, and we love hearing that. We've had a lot of people reaching out. Yeah. So if you're interested, reach out. And if you think of someone on your end that you'd love to see on the podcast, we'd love to hear that. We obviously, we've cut it down to 2 guests an episode to make it a little bit easier and a little shorter of a podcast. But so we basically have 4 people each week on the podcast. So, we want to keep this rolling. So, even when the season's over and whatnot, we want to keep doing at least a podcast a week. So if you want to see somebody, let us know, and we'd love to try to fulfill that request.
Yeah, slide into the DMs. Let us know. Unfortunately, sometimes if we're not following you, we don't see your DMs right away. But we'll dig a little bit and see who's contacting us. But what else is going on, Tim? What's going on in the McManus household?
Not much. Big excitement last night was our neighbors, and you stopped by for a little bit. Our neighbors ordered Friendly's ice cream and they had a DoorDash, so we jumped on that, and all the kids got ice cream. I even got a little Reese's Pieces sundae. I was craving one of those, so I had to do a few extra sit-ups this morning. But it was fun doing that. But other than that, not much really going on. I know we got some birthday shout-outs I want to mention quick. We have Coach Z, Dave Zarum, the big man out of Michigan, one of our directors for many years, our co-director in Michigan, Dave Zarum. It's his birthday today. I think he's 82 years old today. So now we want to wish him a happy birthday. If anything, he looks like he's 40. So happy birthday to him. And then over the weekend, I'm looking here, Jinsey Dunn is turning 23, a member of Missouri women's teams and men's teams over the years. We talked about her the other day about someone we'd like to get on here on the podcast soon too. So hopefully we'll have Jinsey on. So it's her birthday. I see Debbie Humphreys, another person from Missouri who ran the Madison rink, was a big help to us when we were out there. I see it's his birthday. I see Pat Brown, Mikey Brown's dad from New York. I see it's his birthday over the weekend. And then I see Mike Anoy. I know Chad Siebel had mentioned him a couple times from San Jose, member of the Mudcats. It's his birthday over the weekend.
Yeah, he's got a baby due any day now. I think within the next week or so.
His wife is for the baby?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Awesome. I see Matt Wiedenhoff from Michigan. For years he had put in a men's team from Michigan. I see it's his birthday out there. And so, and then on Sunday, Shane Fox turning 26. Kyla Sanders from Florida, another great player from Team USA Women's. It's her birthday. And Charlotte Nicholson, another USA Women's player over the years and member of Team North Carolina back when she was a youngster. So a lot of birthdays over the weekend. So happy birthday to everybody who's celebrating this weekend. Enjoy the quarantine birthday, maybe a birthday parade everyone's doing, Greg. Drive-bys, right?
Yep. Everyone's doing a birthday parade these days. This weekend here in New York, it's going to be really nice, I see, especially Saturday. So I'm sure people will be out and about celebrating here. But yeah, another topic, I know I posted it on my personal Facebook page, but we have some old school pictures from the first, I think, 5 years of State Wars that we're trying to get developed, maybe onto a hard drive. And a lot of people have reached out. So hopefully, within the next couple of weeks, I can get those onto a hard drive and onto our computers, and it'd be awesome to see some old pictures that we haven't seen in forever. I don't know. I don't even know if we've ever seen some of these pictures before.
No, we just had a select group that we used on our posters in '06 and in a magazine, and that's like the only ones that I have. But yeah, it was real frustrating that when the guys that do our photos, we've had basically the same guys doing them every year.
Yeah.
In '05, they had this old format on these tapes, and then '06, they did an amazing job, and that's why I show a lot of photos from '06, and we'll share some today.
Yeah.
'07, we have a bunch. Then '08, '09, our Cincinnati years, they were giving them to us on CDs and whatnot. I don't know why they went all over the place, and then they got back to the hard drives 2011 or 12 and on.
Yeah.
But yeah, those '05 ones, there's got to be some great ones on there, boy. So I love to get some of those.
Yeah, that's gonna be pretty cool. I know, a bunch of people messaged me. Our boy Dangle Soup here, Galicio from Long Island. He wrote me, gave me a place
Okay.
to check out. So I emailed them this morning. So I know Mike Vickerman was writing me as well. So we'll have to just see who could do it and what the best price is, because I'm not sure how much the cost is going to be.
So GT, did you get your 100 push-ups in yet today?
You know, it's so funny. I wanted to before. I wanted to get at least 50 in, but I didn't. I was rushing around, and then I had to shower before the podcast, so I couldn't get to it. But I really did want to do it. Hopefully by the end of the day, I'll do all 100. Yesterday I did, I think, 30 or 40, and now I'll gradually start getting a little more. So, how about you? Did you get yours in?
I actually did a set. I got 50 out in one set before, right after I showered. I did a quick 50.
Then you put that medium shirt on and
squeeze in a little bit, show off a little bit, No, we did. I usually about 30 or 40 in a set, but I just wanted to get through. What we're doing is our little friend chat of ours. I watched a video of a guy who did 100 push-ups a day, just any amounts you want to do. It could be 5 sets of 20 or whatnot every day for 30 days, and didn't change anything else up. And he just had some amazing changes in his body, his chest, his shoulders, his arms, his waist even. So we said, the heck with it. Nothing else going on. Let's just do it. It's not that hard to do. So it's been about 4 of us in our group just doing them every day. And then I told my brother to do it as well. So we just check in every day, and it's kind of the honor system, but just push each other a little bit to be a little healthier, a little better during this time that we have a lot more time than normal to do things like that. So anyone at home wants to join in with us, 100 a day, not too difficult. If you want to do 100 sets of one, like my daughter said, you could do that too. But it's been fun, and you'll notice yourself getting stronger at GT every few days.
Yeah, I told you, I usually do the Orange Theory, but obviously the studio has been closed the last couple months, so I've been really lazy. I've been skating a little bit and bike riding, but really haven't, really pushed myself. And like I told you before, push-ups are kind of hard for me because I got those long, lanky arms.
Right.
But I'll get some in today, and hopefully, I'll do some this weekend as well. So.
But you are expecting, Greg, at least as a couple you are. So, I mean, that's easy to be lazy and want to sit around and forget that you're not the one with the bun in the oven, right? So,
yeah.
You don't have to put on the extra weight too. So you could keep working out here if you want to.
Yeah, I'm feeling good. I'm eating well. Actually, like I told you yesterday, we did the Hello Fresh last couple of days. So that was pretty cool and different. We haven't done that yet. So I was definitely impressed, and I think we're going to order some more for next week. So
awesome.
That was pretty cool. But yeah, other than that, I didn't catch the MJ episodes yet. Number 7's not on demand.
It's on. If you go to the website, you could watch it. If you go to ESPN.co, you can watch it through there, because I was checking out some clips I wanted to watch again the other day. Like I told you, I'm all in with it and enjoying it. It's been great. I thought 7 and 8 had some great scenes. There's a great scene also in episode 8 where he's got a cigar in his mouth and he's in the locker room. He's got a baseball bat and he's just talking shit, and it's just a great couple lines, I thought. So I won't spoil it, but just got to check it out for sure. And I mean, that's really what's going on here. I'm looking forward to getting things going here. I know everyone's got their opinions, and we don't make this a political posting site or anything, but think it's getting to be a little ridiculous now. We got to start getting the economy going a little bit here, getting things doing a little bit. More people are going to die of, the economy failing down the road than of COVID, I think. So we need to start being able to live our lives and get out there. And if you're afraid and you don't want to leave the house, and there are people that don't leave the house normal years, there are some people out there. There's one of those movie theater shootings. They don't go to the movies for the next 10 years. There's a plane crash and they don't go on a plane for the rest of their lives. So there's always going to be those people, but there's a lot of us out there want to get going a little bit and be safe, but also, live our lives a little bit. And, State Wars this summer, a lot of people are emailing us. We 100% are still obviously on board for State Wars this summer. We're working on some little tweaking of things to maybe change the date slightly. We're talking with the rink and, and we have some backup plans in the works and talking to, getting through to the governments, through the rinks and whatnot to see where our parameters will be. So everyone can just hold tight. I promise you, hopefully by next week, we could have final answers on stuff, but we definitely have some good things in the work. We are being proactive, and we definitely plan on having a great tournament this summer at State Wars and hopefully seeing a lot of you guys there, because I know we have a lot of people dying to play. So, without further ado, we got Nick Okada waiting patiently in the waiting room, and we're going to bring him on here. So hold on a sec. Let me get Nick. All right, bear with me 1 second here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Cavalla, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. See you at the rink soon.
We're back, State Wars Hockey Podcast, being joined by our buddy from Ohio, Nick Okada. Nick, can you hear us?
Looks like he's connecting.
You're not connected yet, Nick. That's why I put in that email to prepare for your connection before you came on, so you wouldn't look like the guy here not connected.
He's good.
You got to unmute it. Okay. Hold on. You hear me now?
Yep.
Now, there he is.
There we go.
How you doing, Nick? Where are you? Are you back in Ohio right now?
Yep. I'm in Ohio. I'm actually still at work. I just got finished working. So.
You still at the brewery? Is that where you're at, or?
Yep. Still at the brewery.
That's awesome.
What's going on there with restaurants and whatnot during this craziness? What do you guys got going on? Is it just takeouts or what's doing?
Yeah, we've been doing takeout ever since things kind of started. But I know the governor, the restaurants are able to open up outdoor seating starting tomorrow.
Okay.
And then regular restaurant seating will be next Friday, I believe. But
Oh, wow.
I know Rheingeist and a lot of other people are either waiting a couple days or not opening at all, or kind of seeing how it plays out. So
Like smaller capacity, I guess, to start, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. That's, good sign though. We want things, things that got to slowly, you're not just going to jump right in, and unfortunately, I don't know if they got too crazy with shutting everything down. That's everyone's got an opinion, but now they got to figure out how to roll things back, and it's not easy. Everyone's got an opinion, so I guess it's simpler just to slowly start doing it a little bit, and then hopefully eventually get back to somewhat normal. I think everyone gets crazy. They go, "Oh, the numbers are going to go up," and I'm like, "Well, when everyone's been in the house and then you let everyone out, of course, numbers are going to go up. I mean, that's just normal, So you have to expect that. And it's like, all right, after that happens, then what happens next? There's going to be a little bit of a spike, and it doesn't mean roll it all back again. It just means that that's what's going to happen. If you have, 100 people at the bar and then you invite 10,000 at the bar, you're going to have more drunk people the second time. It's just normal, right? There's more people, more issues. So it's going to happen. And then you get through that. And then hopefully, we slowly start seeing better things like we're seeing in Florida and some other countries and whatnot. So I think that's what's going to happen here. So good to hear that you guys are getting back.
Yeah. What's the name of the brewery, Nick?
Rheingeist Brewery.
Okay.
That's the logo. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And what's your job title there?
I just graduated school, so I was still technically on, the university calls it a co-op, but I'm with the engineering team.
Awesome.
So technically brewery engineer in training. So
cool.
Nice.
Yeah.
All right.
Sure you see some good stuff in there as well. Some good beers.
Yeah.
I hope we do the taste testing. We cracked one open today for this call, so you knew you were at the brewery, so we figured we get started here.
Oh man, I don't have anything on me, but wish I would have.
So
Send a
yeah, so
text to
let's
someone.
dive right in here, Nick. So, obviously, like I said in my opening, Nick Okada has been a part of State Wars since the beginning, started in 2005. And like we mentioned, we don't have photos from 05 aplenty. So this is from 2006, this one shot here. This was in Bensonville, our second year. A few different picks here. The 05 team took the bronze medal in the 93 division, AAA that year. You guys, Nick, went 4-0 in the round robin. And then in the playoffs, you defeated Arizona in the first game 3-2.
Oh man.
Then you got smacked pretty good in the next game. Do you remember who beat up on you guys 7-1 in the semifinals that year?
I do. It was Garrett Haar in California, right?
Correct.
Yep. Those guys were our kryptonite forever.
Yeah, and then the next game though, you got to play in the bronze medal game. You beat Texas 3-2 in overtime. Remember who got the game-winning goal in overtime for you guys that year?
I don't think it was me. Was it?
No, it was Ron Price.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Price scored the overtime winner that year. And you guys had a good team with the 93s. I remember every year just thinking like they're like a player away. They're a player away, like getting there. And, in 06, you guys took the bronze in the AA. 07, you guys didn't have a 93 team. You played up with the 92s.
Mm-hmm.
I know we got some pictures here of you playing with the 92s in 07. This is a picture here of you in that bronze year, Team North America, of course. You've done that, I think it was 4 different times. There you are in the 92s and 07. Then 2008, you won the bronze again in AA. But 09 was the big year for you guys. It was back home in Cincinnati, some home cooking. Always helps get an extra player or two to help get you over the hump.
Mm-hmm.
And you led the team in assists that year, made Team North America. You guys won the gold AAA. You were 3-0-1 in the round robin that year. Georgia was your one tie, 2-2. Larry Atagoki was the big man for Georgia that year. And in the playoffs, you guys defeated British Columbia 3-2. And then you guys defeated Colorado 4-2. JC Capagna had 4 goals that game. You had 2 assists. He took home MVP honors, but that was a huge year. Do you remember winning it that year in 09 back home?
Mm-hmm. Yep. Yeah. So wait, we won it in 09.
That was the year you won AAA gold. Yeah.
Yes, that's correct. Yeah, I do remember that. Part of my brain is thinking back to 2011, but yeah, I do remember that. Not a whole lot of details, but that was a good year. Colorado always seems to be the team that we face off in the finals that we end up getting into. I'm sure you'll get to that, but they had a good team. I'm pretty sure Kevin Dwyer was their goalie. Phelps was one of their top guys. A lot of those guys I played with in the teens. After my time with Black Ice, I went to play with the Kodiaks for a little bit. So I sort of kind of knew those guys from State Wars. And then the bond kind of grew even more. And I'm still pretty good buddies with all those Colorado guys today. So, but yeah, that was a good win. It was a long time coming, for at least for me. All those bronze medals always coming up just a little bit short.
I was going to say, it had to feel pretty good. I know we talked to Tyler Spees the other year about, finally winning. I think 2010 was their last year of 93s, and they won it finally.
Mm-hmm.
We talked to Cody Kettler about winning the 92s, and, all different people. Kraft obviously won a ton of times with the 95s, but Joey DiMartino, his last year in 99s, they finally won with New York. So for you, it wasn't your last year. You had one more year to go, and yet you got the bronze your last year, which is still pretty good. Knowing how strong that 93 division is, and knowing that Cincinnati, Ohio, I should say Ohio in general, has never been a huge roller hockey state.
Mm-hmm.
Had to feel pretty good to finally win the top division and be known as the top team in the country in the 93 birth year.
Yeah. And, thankfully we were able to, most of the guys I think were from Cincinnati, but I think that was one of the first years, if not the first, that we were able to get JC on Ohio. And he's everyone knows JC Campagna. He's a great player. He was a good player back then too, and he definitely, I think you said 4 goals. He helped us along the way throughout the years. Anytime he was on the team, he helped us. I know.
Yeah, big goal scorer, right, Greg?
Yeah.
Yep, for sure. It's funny, Tim and I always bring this up, and I know you've been in some conversations with us before, but back in the day when we used to come out to Ohio for tryouts, that was some pretty crazy stuff. I remember the first couple of years there were hundreds of kids for tryouts.
Yeah.
Back when the Cincinnati Storm had a team, the Swords.
Skate Town USA was the rink out there. Yeah.
Yep, exactly. Skate Town USA. And was that a roll-on rink at one point, Tim?
Yeah. So they had 2 sides.
Yes.
The wood on the one side, and
they had the wood floor on the other side, and then the hockey rink on the other. And then they kicked us out for
gymnastics, right?
For gymnastics, because his wife was running the program, and unfortunately for them, I know due to the coronavirus, they went out of business. So,
wow.
Yeah. So
that stinks. Yeah, those tryouts were fun back in the day, man. Oh,
yeah.
It was stressful as an evaluator. I mean, there were so many kids out there, and it just made it fun. It was cool.
Yeah, those were the days where we had every birth year almost. We had teams. I remember
it really
the first.
helped. We went to Cincinnati like every year. The first few years was good, and then we had 3 out of 4 years we were in Cincinnati. 08, 09, and 11, and then you just got obviously get an influx of kids. You get some ice kids that don't play a lot that play because we're there, and then hopefully a few of them stick with it. Like remember the Sherwoods and a couple of players, and he's made it to the NHL. You see some of that kind of stuff. Yeah. And then they travel finally another year to go play because they love it so much. So it was always great having the tournament there at Sports Plus in Cincinnati. Then your last year of 93s, you were the high scorer of the division, 18 points. Greg showed a picture, Team North America. You won a scholarship that year as your last year there. Maybe it was 2011, excuse me. And, obviously, it's always a talented group. You think of the 03 birth year, Greg. I think of Tyler Spezia and Mitch Stewart in Michigan, Chris Rockman, who now plays with the Border Cats. He was with Alberta, playing. JC Campagna, Kyle Phelps, Eric Purcell, Kason Holman, Larry Aragoki, Vincent Caligiuri. Like, there's so many good players, and a lot of them are still playing in the pro division today. It was such a strong birth year. And, for a place like Ohio to always be in the medal contention and to win the gold the 1 year in the AAA just speaks volumes of Nick, because he was, arguably their best player, or 1A, 1B with JC years JC played every single year.
Yeah, Nick always carried the load and, he was the quarterback of that team. He played both sides of the rink, and he was a catalyst, that's for sure.
And one thing I remember about Nick when he was young, and we obviously got to know Nick real well, was he always had a cannon for a shot. I remember Nick, even at like 9, 10 years old, just had a hammer, and he could just shoot, and then his complete game came later on, but early on, you just had that rocket of a shot. And I would imagine you worked on that a lot as a kid.
Yeah, I did. A lot of times in the garage. I think we finally took it down. I don't know for sure, but we have this big, huge tarp that we ended up laying down because there were too many holes in the wall.
Right.
But yeah, I was able to. I think it might have been left over from an early State Wars, or even when State Wars came to Cincinnati. But I was able to get my hands on some sport court, laid it down in the garage, put the net up, make sure the tarp was back there, and it seemed like I was always working on my shot.
Your older brother Peter was a goalie, right?
Yes.
Yep. Okay, so I'm sure that helped too. You have an older brother who's a goalie. He wants someone to shoot on him, after a while, mom's shot's not looking so good. I need younger brother Nick to start shooting on me. So I'm sure there were plenty of days where you and your brother were going one-on-one shooting on him.
Minimal. I wish there were more, but Peter was always a good player. Whether he was playing out or in net, most of the time was in net. But yeah, unfortunately, he wasn't always willing to strap his pads on and sit in the net with me.
Okay, so you didn't want to be around little brother.
Probably nervous.
You don't want you to hit him in the throat with a shot.
Yeah.
So, as most players, Nick kept playing, obviously, the Juggernaut starts, the junior, and Nick started playing with those, Greg, even while he was still playing 93s.
Yeah.
And there were times he'd play on 3 teams in a year. And, just kept doing his thing. In 2012, you guys won the junior AAA division, and you won high scorer that year. Here's a picture there. When we showed this the other day with Cody Kettler. So you got, Brett Humes, Ryan Perry, Cody Kettler, Nick Okada there. It's a pretty awesome group of 4 right there.
Mm-hmm.
Winning high score in a very strong junior division. And we had a Team North America that year with that. You see Kish and Spezia and Cody Barr and some others there.
Bovey. Yeah, Bovey.
Okay, yeah. So just some of the best still in the game now in that picture. So that was a pretty good year. Do you remember that year, Nick, in St. Louis, winning high scorer with the junior division? You guys won AAA?
Yes, I do remember a little bit.
You didn't win AAA. You were in AAA and you won the high scorer.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah, I think, am I correct in saying St. Louis or Missouri won that year?
Yeah, it might have been Missouri Young Guns might have won it that year.
Yeah. But yeah, I think I was in the running with Perry, but yeah, that was a good year. That was, what jerseys were those?
Those are the brown ones.
Yeah.
Yeah. The Bowling Green, I guess that was. Look, right? Is that what it was?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's funny because I didn't even mention, Nick, the year before that, 2010, the year you won high scorer of the 93 division, you guys went 3-1 that year, going for AAA gold again. You beat you lost to North Carolina 4-3 in the semifinal. And then you went to the bronze medal game and you beat New Jersey 3-2 in overtime. And that's the one you scored the overtime winner that time to win the bronze over Jersey. So
that was in Chicago, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So yeah, and then going to junior, and then 2012 as well, you played Juggernaut, and you guys took home gold there. You guys only went 2-2 in the round robin. It was a tough division. Then you guys defeated the Missouri Young Guns 7-4 in the semifinal, and they were a stacked team. That's Kettler, and that's Krogman, and that's Novak, and all their boys. And I'm sure you're worried about playing them. They were winning the junior division. This was Juggernaut with basically the same team, but you knocked them off, and then you beat Colorado 4-3 in the gold medal game. And I believe our next guest, Kevin Dwyer, was a goalie on that team. And I know you mentioned Colorado earlier, but you took home gold that year in Juggernaut.
Yeah, that's probably that's probably the year that I remember the most of State Wars, especially towards the back half from like 18, 19 and younger. And that was definitely probably to this day the highlight State Wars year for my career.
Beating the Young Guns?
Yeah, it was just a classic story. Like, yeah, we went 0-2. We lost 2. We played Missouri the first game, I believe. We lost like 8-1, I think. We might have even got mercied, and then we played Tennessee the next game, and that one I think we came in a little bit overconfident because they had a good solid team, and they caught us on a bad day. We didn't pull that one out, and then I know we played Illinois the third game, and that one we knew after the Tennessee loss. My dad and I were looking at the scoreboards and saying, we have to win from here on out to even have a chance.
At 2-2, hopefully get in, right?
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah. So
when you're playing the Young Guns that first game and you see the other lineup, I mean, no disrespect to anyone, you're not expected to win that game. You're looking at that team going, this is going to be tough, right? I mean, these guys are winning juniors. Some of them had already been playing in an Arch Pro or a Tours Pro at that point. You see those names: Kettler, Novak, Krogman, Sexton, like whoever was playing, Baugh, and you got to be like, holy shit, man! How can I carry this team? And you go out and you beat them 7-4. I mean, you beat them pretty good. So that had to feel pretty damn good. Like, and then you're just hoping you don't have a letdown for the championship game after that.
Yeah. I know. All those years that I played juniors, Juggernaut, anytime we played Missouri, it was like, oh boy, here we go again. Because at least for me, and I'm sure a lot of people think this, anytime anybody thinks 92 birth year, State Wars, they think of a Missouri team, because they have that stacked roster with Krogman, Novak, Kettler. I think Ball was a 91, but they had him a lot of the time, and they always had a good team. So yeah, we were, especially after the first round robin game, we were going into that game a little nervous, but looking at it as we don't really have anything to lose. We know that they're the best team in this tournament for this division, and we just got to try and do our best. And I think part of it was a little bit of luck. We were able to catch, I think Brennan Sow was their goalie. We were able to catch him on not maybe his best day, capitalize on a little bit more opportunities that we had. And yeah, that was a good game. We were able to pull that one out. That win felt very good, because I think that was the one and only time that a team Ohio had ever beaten a solid Missouri team like that. And then, yeah, we go into the finals against Colorado. We hadn't played them in the round robin, but myself, JC, we were really familiar with those guys. We've played with them before. We played against them many times, so we kind of knew a little bit what we were up against, and definitely knew it was going to be a challenge. But I'm sure you can talk to Kevin about it as well. But to this day, we still reminisce and talk about that game and the final goal in overtime, and honestly how much of a crock of shit it was, because I remember it vividly. JC takes the puck down and he shoots the puck from half rink, literally half rink, and Kevin Putnam standing there waiting in front of the net, and just good hand eye, about halfway up the body, tips it right down 5-hole between Kevin's legs, and we win the game. And
yeah.
So that championship was overtime, Nick?
Yep.
Okay.
Putnam got MVP too.
Kevin did, yeah. Yeah, I think it was overtime. I'm pretty sure it was, but
yeah, it was definitely 4-3 either way. Yeah, I mean, when you think about it, Greg, what's amazing about, when you think of State Wars and all this kind of stuff, Nick's a perfect example of someone where, yeah, maybe at a tournament he'd go play on a black ice or go play on a Kodiak, because where he lived there weren't a ton of kids playing, or maybe his level or whatnot. But with State Wars, and to his credit and his family's credit, they worked hard to recruit and get kids interested and grow the sport locally. And you got all these Ohio guys playing, which probably wouldn't have happened if we didn't have State Wars rules. If we had regular tournament rules, he would have just been on a team with other guys.
Yeah.
And then here, Ohio, years later, you're looking at 2012, they're winning a gold medal against the top teams. 2019, 18, they're in the battles in the senior AA division, the junior division. So they got strong teams and strong players. And that's what I love about our rules, that it makes people have to grow the sport locally and get more guys playing, because they're out there. But a lot of guys can just take the easy way. I always think of Kaysen Holman in Texas. There never would be Texas teams playing at State Wars if we didn't have rules. Kaysen easily would have been playing on the Blast or a Black Ice or whoever. But he got kids from Texas. He got Stefan Noason, who playing in the NHL, to play. And they were obviously a great team. And we go on and on about all these guys. And I think for someone like you, Nick, you could say that as great as it is now playing in the PAMA Pro division, and we'll get to your pro stats in a minute, And it's awesome to play against the best and say I play in the pro division. But there's still nothing more special than playing with your buddies, playing in your home state, in that birth year. And, and when you won that year in 2009 with your buddies from home, that's still the most special feeling, and playing with your pals. It's great jumping on the Grizzlies last year, a team, but it's not the same as with your buddies, and that's what I love what State Wars has done. And we'll reminisce here, and we'll reminisce with Kevin Dwyer about the Colorado days. And I think that's what makes it so special. And that's what I'm most proud of about this program, is that we've built so much history like that. I mean, Greg, did you feel that way playing with New York when you were, you were a little older towards the end, but you got to do it
Yeah.
for years?
Yeah. So I was older. The junior division back then was like 84, 85, 86. And I couldn't
play. It was 83, 84 the first year.
Okay. Yeah. And then there was another age, I think.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, no, that was fun. I played with some of my good buddies from here, and came together, and it was cool just to play with them, And now, playing in the 35 and over division, I get to play with some of my old school, hockey buddies, old sniper guys. So that's awesome as well. It's definitely different, for sure, but it's cool playing with the guys you grew up playing with, for sure.
Mhm.
I mean, did you feel that way, Nick, too?
Yeah, for sure. I know, like even now, I've been playing the senior AA division for a couple of years now, and yeah, that's definitely the most fun. I'm fortunate enough to be able to, with the senior AA and PAMA Pro, be able to play two divisions, which is great, because since we're all getting older, those times, and oh boy, look at that.
There's a picture. I had to share this to surprise Greg there. There's Greg in
Yeah.
the first year, 2005 at State Wars, Team USA gloves for tour and his tour bucket. But that's him right there as a New York player, and a lot younger there. But
Yeah, I'd say so.
that's
With
just
the
good stuff.
With the yellow synergy, I remember watching you take slap shots with that stick, Greg.
Yeah. That was the first year I played with Team USA as well. So that was a fun summer.
Nick, what about when you're younger? Do you remember, even being a good player, obviously, there still had to be, when you're young, some stress to the tryout process, right? Like, we're coming out there, these guys are coming in, the State Wars guys, and they're picking guys, and you're being evaluated. And just talk for a minute. I know it's been a long time, but just talk about those young years of just, you don't know, right? And that list's going on the wall for people that don't know at home. We still do this. We run a tryout, and Nick's actually been part of our staff doing this on the other side, and we'll talk to him about that too. But these kids try out. We send in a crew from out of state. They try out, and then we post a list on the wall with jersey numbers of who made it. And there really is no preferential treatment. Obviously, we get to know some kids over the years, but for the most part, it's just how you do in those 2 hours. Mm-hmm. And I would assume for kids, especially back then in Ohio, when we did have a lot of kids coming out, it had to be a pretty exciting and stressful time for a young kid, right?
Yeah, it was. I still remember bits of those days, get my photo taken up against the wall.
Yeah. Prison shot.
Yeah. But there was a lot of stress, especially those first couple years, because, the tournament was so new. People didn't really know me or certain people within the area, which is good. And that's the point. But yeah, there is definitely stress because, at that point I had been playing with and against the people I was trying out with for a couple years. And, at that time, there were definitely multiple people that were better than I was. So it was definitely a thing where I felt that I was good enough to be on that higher level team, but, I wasn't sure. You could have a bad day. You guys, the people choosing the teams, could see just one little thing. You never know. So yeah, there was definitely a lot of stress. How much stress can you really have as a kid? But
Right. I just remember back then, even in Ohio, I remember, I think it was Dorf, the one
Mm-hmm.
dad, and this one wanted to coach or who liked him. And then, this person, was getting better. And, because people think because a kid makes it every year, they're going to make it. And then new kids show up, especially in Ohio when it's the home state. You get an influx of new kids. And then, boom, it changes everything. And we've always tried to be very fair about it. And, and I think sometimes that scared people off from tryouts because they don't want their kid evaluated. They don't want to be told, hey, you know what, your kid's not good enough for the high team, and who's friends with who and whatnot. And we tried to get away from all those politics. And that's why eventually we started, giving your money back if you didn't make a team and all these things to just show people that, hey, we're doing it the right way.
Yeah.
And are we perfect? No, but we're fair, and every year we're going to do our best and everyone's got to try out and we're going to do our best. And of course, some kids may look good in a 2-hour tryout that really aren't as good as another kid, but it's just fair for everyone. Right. So, but always a fun time. And I remember one time we were somewhere, it might've been Ohio, and there were only 6 or 7 kids in like a young birth year trying out like years later. And we're doing it knowing that everyone's making the team. They're all pretty good, but we don't have enough kids to cut anyone. And I remember putting the list on the wall and kids were still like high-fiving and fist pumping that they made the team. And I'm thinking to myself, I did not know you were making the team. Like,
they're all pretty good. Yeah.
But, it just shows that the kids just still love that. And I love that. And it's so exciting for that. And I mean, you were younger, your family was very helpful and was so thankful to them early on with that. And, looking at Nick's all-time stats here, Greg, in 155 games played at State Wars, 105 goals, 146 assists for 251 points. That's a 1.61 points per game average. So that's got to be up there in the all-time stat leaders, I would think, of points per game. So pretty impressive stuff from Nick Okada, who's been doing it from a young kid and still doing pretty damn well. I know last year he led his Alkali Grizzlies pro team, with wasn't a huge scoring team, but he still led the team in scoring.
Yeah. Nick always comes through with the big goals. And obviously, I was looking at his stats earlier. Speaking of Dorf, by the way, is he on University of Cincinnati now?
It's actually his younger brother, the 98 birth year.
Okay.
Well, of course.
Zach, is that Zach, one of them, Zach?
Zach was the older. Sam is the
they're
younger
both pretty good players, I remember.
Yeah, and Sam has turned into a very good player. He actually, he was on my senior AA team last year.
Yeah.
Okay.
And obviously Sherwood, the Sherwood brothers obviously did really well, right?
Yeah.
So where are they at right now?
I'm not sure where they at currently, but I think Kiefer, I think they both might be in the AHL, but yeah, they were from Columbus.
Yeah, the Blue Jacket organization, or
yeah,
I believe so.
I think the older one was with Anaheim, and the younger one was with Columbus. So,
all right, so let's move into the PAMA Pro. So in 2016, Nick made his debut in the PAMA Pro division, playing with the Tour Roadrunners, and Nick's one of the few guys you could say, he's played for 3 different teams in the PAMA Pro. The team we would call him a player of is the Bar Down Excitement team with George Brown, but they didn't play in 2016, so he played with the Roadrunners. There's a good huge shot with the mayor right there, GT.
I did win that battle.
Yeah. The old man still got it, Nick.
Yeah, he still got it.
That's 2017 in Michigan. And then, so for 2 years, you played with Excitement, 17 and 18. And then in 2019, last year, you played with the Alkali Grizzlies. So 17 games played in the PAMA Pro, 5 goals, 7 assists, 12 points, still respectable, just under a point a game in the PAMA Pro division, the top division in the world. And, but 17 games played, you've had 4 wins in those 17 games also on the flip side as a team. So just speak for a minute about just being a young player in that division, the level of play, the competition, the excitement of it. Obviously those memories are a lot more vivid for you. Just talk a little bit about that division and how tough it is.
It's very tough. And I think whether you're on a winning team, losing team, middle of the road team, it doesn't really matter. It's still tough. Every game is tough. And I'm sure Greg will attest, the older you get, the harder things become. Because there's always young, new players coming in. But I'm fortunate enough to be on a team, mostly in Excitement, that if they're in the tournament, I'll be playing. But it's never easy, especially for me, every time I've played in the PAMA Pro, it's usually been on somewhat of an underdog team, a team that not many people expect much from. But that only, at least for me and most other people, that just fuels us. So,
When
but
did you play with us, Nick? Was it at Midwest Wars last year that you played with us, right?
Yep, I played with you guys at Midwest Wars last year, and Midwest Wars, back in 15?
Yeah, in Detroit, right?
Yeah.
Yes, you got a little taste of victory last year at Midwest Wars.
Yeah, a little taste of victory with the Snipers. Yeah.
We were a team
And
that
you heard all
expected-
about it.
Yeah, we weren't expected to win that division, I don't think, last year, and that was a fun win for us in Chicago and a pretty tough pro division there.
Yeah, that was.
Yeah, I know the guys were giving it to you a little bit,
Yeah.
Okada, how's it feel to win,
Yeah. Yeah.
Right.
Pretty funny.
Yeah, that was a fun time.
I remember, Greg, in 2016 when Nick played with the Roadrunners, 5 games played, 2 goals, 2 assists, 4 points for Nick there. We actually played them in the quarterfinal.
Yeah.
And with the Snipers, and it was a dogfight that game. And I still remember being on the bench, and Nick picked up the puck, and I watched him. He was going wide with it, and I knew he was going to pass the puck to Max. I could just see the play developing, and I'm like, just in my mind, just screaming, like, I know what Okada's going to do here. And he made a great play and hit Max for the goal. And I know we wound up winning the game, I think 3-1, but it might have made it 1-0 or 1-1 or 2-1. It was a close game. And I think Nick did his little fist pump, and I felt like Michael Jordan in Last Dance, seeing someone fist pumping at us. I was furious on the bench that it was Nick. But I still remember that goal, and that was his first time playing in the PAMA Pro in a playoff game. Yeah. So testament to Nick. He just always had confidence. Even as a young kid, not afraid. Goes out there, plays his game. He'll bang with the big boys. Not afraid to take the puck, and is confident. And I think he's going to do really well in the PAMA Pro division moving forward. And speaking of excitement, let's talk about George Brown on the bench. I'm sure you hear a lot of excitement from him on there, because when I watch, I feel like he's as loud behind the bench as when he's up in the broadcast booth with the microphone, because whether he's yelling at the team or the referees or someone, he's got a lot of excitement on the bench, huh?
Yes. Yeah, I've had plenty of coaches in my days that, have been vocal or talked a lot, but George is definitely a special character. I'm sure you guys all know that. Yeah, a lot of excitement from him. Good, bad, fun. He's got that loud, strong singing voice, and he's definitely never afraid to use it. That's for sure.
Now, the last thing about State Wars I want to mention. So, Jane's mom, Greg, I know you had a picture there. She was our pin lady. Pin trading is a huge part of State Wars. The kids love it. We hear about it all the time. Here's a picture with her and her pet giraffe, selling pins. So, this, I think, in Fort Wayne here. Always a huge highlight of the tournament. She does an amazing job with that. The Okada family is definitely, we talk about State Wars being a family tournament. There's his dad, Dave, just a huge part of the tournament, always helping out. And Nick jumped right in. As a young kid, he was the kid helping out Greg, laying the floors down, even before he worked with us as a volunteer, helping out just to get a hat or a T-shirt. And then he wound up being an important part of the staff. He would come out, run tryouts, come out the whole tournament, score keep. And honestly, he was probably our best worker at one time. We'd send him down to get a floor laid down, and he would take control of guys a lot older than him and get it organized. Yep. And he was the guy in charge down on the floors for sure. And just did an amazing job. So Nick, I'm sure right away you noticed that a lot of work goes behind the scenes to pull off this tournament.
Oh yeah. Definitely a lot more than I think people realize.
Especially the uniforms and whatnot on top of it, right?
Yeah. There's so much to do. A lot of hours put in, a lot of late nights, early mornings. But credit to you guys and the people who work with State Wars. We always make sure that we have a good time, have fun doing it, because we're all in it together. But yeah, definitely a a lot more work than people might understand from just looking behind the scenes, coming to the tournament for a couple of days.
Yeah, people
sure.
think we flick a switch and everything. The floors are
Yep.
down, the jerseys
Yep.
are organized. We're handing out 6,000 jerseys in bags, and every single player's name and number correct, and where they it's the pins. There's so much
Specialty items. Yeah.
Yep.
And honestly, I'll say I learned a long time ago, surround yourself with great people, and you're successful, whether it's when I'm coaching, when I'm playing, or obviously most importantly with work. And that's why both you guys on the podcast here, Greg and yourself, are both incredible at what you guys do, bring a lot to the table, and that's what makes it work. We're all just another spoke in the wheel and make it all happen. And I appreciate all the hard work you've given us over the years, Nick. So thank you for that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then let's talk about the ice side for a second. I mean, obviously, you're an ice player as well. So, you played at Elmira for 2 years, Division III hockey, I believe. 17 games played, no goals, 6 assists. And then you went on to play in the University of Cincinnati. I think that's Club D2, and very successful. 98 games played, 35 goals, 207 assists. So I don't know if they give out 4 assists per goal in that league or what, but that's pretty incredible. And 242 total points. So just talk about your ice career for a minute.
Yeah. I'll always go back to thinking in some part of me wishing that I had started ice earlier, because I've been playing roller since I was 8. It's all I ever enjoyed doing, and I just kind of had.
When did you start ice? What year did you really start playing ice?
My sophomore year of high school.
Okay.
So it's kind of had an epiphany moment.
My junior year of high school, so I get it.
Yeah, realizing that you can do only so much with roller hockey, and I wanted to do my best to try and prolong my hockey career, and I knew that the best chance of that was playing ice. So.
How did your roller hockey game? Because obviously you had a lot of days in you on the wheels, so there are tons of similarities, and you had all that puck time and patience and all that. So how did the roller game help your ice game when you jumped into ice hockey?
It was a huge part. I know before I started playing ice hockey my sophomore year of high school, so that first year I played with my high school team. I couldn't even count on both hands how many times I actually skated and played hockey on ice skates. But I was able to transition. I've always thought and heard that the transition from roller to ice is much easier from ice to roller. So that transition was relatively easy, and it definitely helped my game, bringing that patience and control and different thought process of roller hockey into ice hockey is always a benefit. I think still to this day, it's a huge benefit. And, just I think part of that, bringing that roller side and, my game into the ice side spoke for itself. My second year playing ice, I was able to, it was a little late, but I went up to get a skate after tryouts had even been held for the AAA Blue Jackets in Columbus. And fortunate for me, the coach was impressed enough to bring me on the team. And then I spent 2 years with the AAA Blue Jackets before I graduated high school, then kind of transitioned into junior hockey, which most of us do. And I spent 3 years playing at the Tier 3 level, and they were definitely fun years, but some things that, looking back, I probably could have or might have wanted to do a little bit differently. And then fortunately enough for me, I was able to market myself well enough to be able to get with Elmira and play there for 2 years. And that was definitely a great experience. I think that was the place where just my game as a whole kind of grew. I think my junior career helped. That was probably the time where I had the best coach I've ever had in my life. A coach that pushed me to new levels and demanded certain things from myself and the team. So that helped me as a person, but I think as a part of my game, those 2 years at Elmira really helped kind of develop some things that I might not have if I hadn't gone there. So
You obviously haven't had Tim as a coach before.
Yeah, I would say except for his one Midwest experience.
That's correct. My
Right.
very short-lived Midwest experience with Tim.
So Nick, we're going to spend some time for a couple minutes here. I'm going to throw out some questions to you, a little speed round. Just throw out an answer, what comes to you right away. So, favorite movie?
Oh, I hate this question. One that comes to mind, Secret Life of Walter Mitty.
Okay.
Yep.
Favorite food?
Oh gosh.
I know you like to eat, so.
I love to eat. I hate to be what's the word? Stereotypical, but Spam has got to be up there for me.
Wow.
I don't eat it a lot now, but it's something I grew up on, and it's definitely comfort food, and it's something that I'll never stop enjoying for sure.
So, Greg, I think his food and his movie are two answers we'll probably never hear again on this podcast.
That's correct.
Totally. I know he
So
likes Chipotle too.
Yeah, you like Chipotle.
Yeah.
Favorite music? What kind of music do you like?
I lean more towards the alternative indie rock, and then as well like EDM type dance music.
Okay, you still into podcasts? I know you're a big podcast guy. You still listen to podcasts when you're driving in the car?
Yep. Spittin' Chicklets is definitely, I listen to probably 2 or 3 Spittin' Chicklets and the Congratulations podcast by Chris D'Elia. He's a comedian.
Okay.
And then I'll listen to Joe Rogan here and there as well.
Yeah. I remember Nick, like he always had some weird shit playing, some weird music playing in his car.
Yeah.
Like, what is this?
Old messy car flying around, something playing, working at a brewery, what's the beer of choice?
Style, probably stouts.
Stouts? Okay.
Yep. But I love my fair share of hops as well. Those always get me going. But yeah, stouts and barrel-aged stouts are definitely probably a favorite of mine.
Okay, you more of a caller or a texter?
Definitely a texter, and my wife will attest to that.
Okay. How often do you condition your hair?
It used to be never, but now it's every time I shower, it's shampoo, conditioner.
All right, so you are an everyday conditioner. Okay. Youngblood or Miracle?
Oh, probably Miracle, but Youngblood is a great movie that I'm sure a lot of people sleep on.
All right, now in the PAMA Pro division, your experience playing there, who would you say when you play, who's the player out there that you're most impressed with as an overall player that you get caught watching sometimes as a fan, and just like, wow, that guy's pretty damn good. Who's that player to you right now?
That player is the man that you had on, I believe, last week, Travis No.
He's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
No biggie.
But he's just an impressive player, and I'm sure everybody will agree and understands that. But he just plays the game a different way, and he doesn't really, for the most part, showboat. He doesn't have like a cocky asshole side. He plays the game right. He plays the game hard, and he does what he needs to do to get the job done. And he's always a clutch player. I remember, I think it was last year. He was playing with PAMA, and I think he had a hat trick or maybe even 4 goals in the quarterfinal, maybe against the Roadrunners. That was a back and
forth. The
forth.
video of the day. He tied the game with the goalie pulled, and then he won in overtime.
Yep.
Yeah, no, pretty impressive. Who do you think the best skater is in the pro division?
Oh, I mean, it's got to be Spezia, right? At
Definitely
least
one of them for sure.
in my eyes, he's definitely top 5. I mean, he's just so smooth.
You've
so
been chasing
fast.
the 93 division your whole life, so you know him pretty well. He's always been a great skater.
We're
Yep.
chasing him and Mitch.
Yeah, yeah.
Now, what goalie would you say is the toughest to score on? Like if there's a goalie and the last goalie you want to see on a penalty shot to win it all, who's that goalie that you'd rather not have in net against you?
JP Susko. No, I'm
right.
just no. I don't know. That's a tough one. Probably one who doesn't play a whole lot, but he'll come back here and there. I know he played last year, I think, but Keith Johnson, he's a great goalie, especially in a scenario like a penalty shot. He's just so solid in that.
Right, no, 100%. Greg, any following questions for Nick?
No, we do have a clip of him though that we didn't
We got
share.
a video from last year, the PAMA Pro division. Okay.
Yeah, got a nice goal that we'll show. Just give me a sec here.
These aren't easy to find, Nick, from you, so
I know.
great credit here.
All right.
Nick Okada, zigging and zagging. Shoots, he scores!
And he scored on Kevin Dwyer, our next guest. That's a good
Nick
intro.
Okada, third goal of the tournament, makes it 2-0 Grizzlies, 6:48 left in the first.
Yeah, I was looking through some pictures, through some video, and I'm like, you know what? I'm going to show this one today because Kevin's on. So, no, what I liked about that goal was, obviously it was such a patient play. You didn't force a pass or even force a shot. You waited out and then you shot through a screen, which is huge. Especially on a big goalie like Kevin. You're not going to beat him straight up from that far out. And using that screen was huge. And
I think Nick surprised him there, Greg. Right? When you shoot
100%.
stick handle like that, like he's still moving, and then he gets one off with the quick release. I think Brandon Hawkins is good like that too, like that quick just.
Yeah, and it's funny that the shift before that goal that you scored, you actually hit the crossbar right before it, and then you redeem yourself a little bit, and you actually beat him on that first shot that hit the crossbar, but just didn't go your way. So
I know that that I did enjoy watching that goal. I remember I watched it when you guys had it for one of your top games. I think it was like 18 or 19.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, I watched. Oh boy, that's something that I've been working on a lot, especially in the last couple of years. Is that that quick transition from a stick handle to a quick shot.
Yeah,
it's definitely something that's very hard to do, but if you can do it properly, it's beneficial.
So I got to explain this picture here, Greg.
There's a picture.
So a good buddy of Greg and I, Greg Hazeman, was getting married. And where is Greg Hazeman in that picture? He's right there, the white hat. So he wanted to go to Churchill Downs for the Kentucky Derby for his bachelor party. So we had been to Cincinnati, like we said, numerous times. So I made a phone call out there, talked to my contact in the city about a good hotel for us and where to go to eat and whatnot. So we were going to stay in Cincinnati and then make the drive to Kentucky for the Derby. And how long was that drive, Nick?
It's about hour and a half to 2 hours, closer to 2 hours. Yeah.
It's about 2 hours. So then we started thinking about how we're going to get there, So Nick at that time, I don't remember what year that was. That was probably around.
You must have been a senior in high school or something like that.
I think it was 2012 or 2013.
Yeah, around there. So I reached out to Nick and I'm like, hey, you want to make a few bucks, Nick? And Nick was always about, making a buck or two. So he said, I got a good proposition for you. You're going to drive a group of guys to Kentucky Derby. We'll get you a ticket in with us. You'll hang out for the day. Obviously, you're too young to drink anyway, so you're not going to be drinking. And we're going to get plastered probably. And then you're going to drive us all back.
Yep.
And what's funny about that hat, even Nick, was remember we stopped at a gas station on the way there, and we saw that hat. We're like, all right, Nick's got to wear this hat when he's driving, and he loved it. He's a good sport. And do you remember that day at all, Nick? Pretty fun day. As a young guy, you probably had to enjoy that.
I remember that day, that weekend, very well. Yeah, that was a fun time. Definitely. I mean, yeah, like you said, it was a no-brainer. Hang out with a bunch of crazy New Yorkers, go down to Churchill Downs, Kentucky Derby, and all I have to do is drive you guys around, and that was fun. I still remember driving on the highway, coming over the ridge, hitting some sun in my face, flapped the visor down, and out comes this Asian newspaper. And that was
yeah, that was funny. I remember, you met our good buddy Jack. Jack was there, and full force.
Yeah.
And I think he was still drunk the next morning when you picked us up from the night before. And then I remember he took a wild turn at one point, and guys fell off the chair and the bench in the van. Yeah, it was.
Yeah,
that was a fun one for sure.
You know, we got one final picture here. You know, my nickname for Nick over the years has always been Lou Diamond Phillips. So there's a good shot of Nick when he was in Young Guns too. You know, always got the long hair going. You know, just always fun to have you, Nick. Though, and you know, truly, just thank you so much for all you've done for State Wars over the years, as not only just a player, but your family, working, helping. You know, you're a great guy, and you come from a great family, and definitely look forward to many more years with you with State Wars, and hopefully we'll see you this summer. And you know, take care of yourself out there, and we'll talk to you soon.
Nick also has a baby on the way as well.
Oh, you do?
Due in October.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, baby.
Always the last to know. Congratulations, Nick.
Thank you. Yep. Turns out me and Greg are the same month. So
All right.
So about a week apart, I think.
It could be some future snipers right there together. So
let's hope so. Maybe we'll see.
All right, guys. Well, Nick, thanks so much
for having me
being
on
with us.
Thanks,
we'll
Nick.
Talk to you soon. All right, buddy.
Cheers.
Yep, sounds good. Thanks, guys.
All right.
Have an IPA for me.
Will do.
And that was Nick Okada. Great kid from Ohio. A lot of fun. And honestly, I can't even say this enough, Greg, and I'm not even just saying it because he was on. Arguably the hardest worker we ever had with us on a staff, for one of the guys you would say on the lower tier of the guys. He wasn't like a main guy with us that's, you know, older. Yeah. But he worked his ass off and probably did more work than most of the guys that were getting paid more than him. And I hope to keep having him for many years working with us. You know, now that he's married and once he has a kid, he'll be looking to get out of the house more. But just a great worker, right?
Yeah, Nick always went beyond and worked his tail off above and beyond for us. You know, just laying the floors. He'd be so organized with that. And, you know, when we get there a little late, you know, in the morning, he would take charge and put guys in their place and let them know, you know, that this is how it's going to be. So we actually, we love that with Nick. And
wasn't afraid to take charge.
Yeah, not only that, you know, obviously he scored kept for us for a long time, but you know, when we needed help doing other things with ceremonies or, you know, setting carts up, and Nick was always there for us to help, or even a skills competition. So
no, jack of all trades for sure. So
without
further ado, I know he's been waiting a bit here. We're going to bring in Kevin Dwyer here all the way from Colorado. All right. So let's get Kevin coming in here.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Cavalla, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. See you at the rink soon.
We're back here, State Wars Hockey Podcast number 12 with our good buddy Kevin Dwyer from Colorado. I'm assuming you're at the rink right now. So how's it going, Kev?
Yeah, can you see that watermark in the office up there? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm at the rink right now. Yeah, I was just listening to the tail end of Mr. Okada, a good buddy of mine. So yeah, it's cool you guys got him on here for a little bit. But yeah, hanging out at the rink. I'm back at the rink doing some cleaning from 9 to 5 Monday through Friday. So
what's going on there? What's going on there, Kev? You know, are you guys opening up soon or?
Oh man, it's so cloudy. There was something, the guy I'm working with, his name's Steve Early. He's been doing stuff at roller rinks since before I was born, I think. he said that he saw something the other day that came out and said don't plan on coming to Colorado for like the summer to vacation and stuff like that. So it sounds like cases are still kind of like going up, and it's been, almost 2 months now of kind of distancing and mask and all of the precautionary stuff, and it's still very cloudy. So we're kind of just going by as we can, and just trying to stay busy and stay positive.
Right. Yeah, well, I guess the one benefit of all this, people are probably doing a lot more cleaning that they probably should have been doing anyway, and now everyone's forced to doing it. So you figure the rinks will be a lot cleaner when people eventually come back.
I'm getting up on a ladder and blowing out vents and just dusty stuff up top on the ceilings today. So yeah, it's I would imagine this place is going to be cleaner than it's been in probably 15 years, 20 years or something like that.
Yeah, you'll go through some of those cabinets behind you. You'll find like an old Tylenol bottle that expired in 2006 or whatever, right?
Yeah, those are the tool cabinets. We got our nice little employee jerseys over there. We do
Awesome.
big over here.
Now, which facility are you at?
I am at the Littleton one, so I'm off of like Lowell and Bowles, and we're about 20 minutes, like kind of south of Denver from here. So I grew up as a kid at the Aurora location. And so my parents still live kind of over that way and stuff. And that was the rink that I started at a couple of years ago. And then last year, right around this time, about a year ago, I hopped back on board. I took a little hiatus and hopped back on board and got put over here at the Littleton facility. So yeah, I've been here for about a year, and nice change of pace, different demographic and different parents, different kids, but kind of end of the day, the same product, the same stuff we do at all the rinks. So yeah, it's good. It's fun. I like Littleton.
Cool.
Yeah, I'll mention real quick before we get into Kevin's life. Pretty sweet situation in Colorado through the skate cities they're called. He mentioned he works in the Littleton rink. So for those that aren't aware, I'm assuming most aren't, how it pretty much works is, these skate cities have typical roller rinks, I should say, wood floors in different parts of the state of Colorado. And they have their typical parties and whatnot, but then they have their own little roller hockey programs there. And each program, like say, or his, I don't know if they're the Littleton Flames, but each one will have their own group of youth teams. And a lot of it's, beginner and whatnot. And, kids start out, they get a free pair of skates and whatnot, for signing up. It's real inexpensive. They start playing. And then they used to have, I don't know if they still do, Kevin, I'll let you jump in a second, but on weekends, the different skate cities would play against one another at the arena, which was more of a bigger rink and a nicer facility for hockey. And they would play against one another, and you would get so many young kids playing. And it was one of the few places in the country that you saw that building blocks going on and just that grassroots of the game at all ages, which was pretty special. So Kev, you want to jump in a little bit about that?
Yeah, absolutely. You hit a lot of it on the head. There's six skate city locations. The floor is like an epoxy plastic, so it's kind of like a mixture. And just like you said, weekends we've got birthday parties. During the week we've got school parties, and then Mondays and Sunday mornings are carved out specifically for hockey. As a kid growing up, just kind of like you touched on it, I was very, very fortunate to get into the sport when I did at that time in 99 and 2000 when we first moved here, because there was a lot going on. There was a massive amount of people that were playing in the state. So we transferred from the street from when Frank told me to go stand between the cones and start blocking the ball. We transferred from the street over to the one at Aurora. So I did actually grow up at a skate city as well. And so now kind of fast forward to the future, when I started at Aurora, I started out solely as the hockey director. And basically there's like three kind of levels. Learn to play, as you mentioned, you sign up, you get a pair of skates. Another thing that we do, we provide equipment, shin pads, gloves, helmets for all the kids, sticks. That they can use when they come and play, so that parents don't have to spend $500 to commit to a sport that little Johnny might quit after a year.
Right.
So So we have Learn to Play, and that's I have so much fun with Learn to Play. Just the immediate kind of results you see in teaching these kids and how much fun they have, coming to play hockey for 45 minutes once a week. It's a good time. And then we move up to our rec league. They get 8 games. Kids are kind of coming out of Learn to Play. Some kids have been playing for a little bit. And then you move up to our club program, which you touched on about the arena. So at Aurora, where I started as a kid, I was a Cougar. Over here, just like you said too, it's the Flames now. And then there's Westminster, and there's Arvada, and then there's the 2 Springs rinks. And so all those rinks have their own club program that on weekends, usually right around this time is when we would be getting kind of ready for our IHA national championship. Dave Frank and Coker came out a couple of years ago. So some guys kind of from the Midwest would come to that. But yeah, we'll put some tournaments on through the weekends. The last year we've kind of been toying with a league format, which people seem to really like. We did our Junior Pro and our World League format. But yeah, that's kind of like our like within the in-state competition. Yeah, within in-state competition, club is kind of like our highest level. And then we have the Stallions program, which as a kid growing up playing for Fromm and Yoder. And now I've been fortunate enough to bring a couple Stallions teams to a couple tournaments and stuff. So it's kind of amazing talking now how full circle it's come. But yeah, we're trying to do what we can to keep the sport growing. And just like you said, grassroots. If you're not, you don't get Stallions without your Learn to Play. You don't get your club without your rec league. So you gotta from all facets of the levels of these kids growing up and developing, you got to kind of be dialed into all of it, or else you're not going to have what we are able to bring to NARCH, what we're able to bring to State Wars and things like that. So you really do kind of have to get after it at the grassroots level.
Yeah, it really is an ingenious model. And I always tell people that, I've been around longer than both of you guys, unfortunately. I'm 47, and I started playing roller hockey at an outdoor rink when I was, say, 10, so in '83, and then took off and came back. And then eventually later on, I ran a rink, and we were on a wood floor for a while. And, it was
tell Dwyer to shut up.
Yeah, this is Dennis Jelsic calling when he knows every Tuesday and Thursday we have a.
Why don't you pick it up, Tim? Pick it up. Pick it up.
Let me tell him here. Oh, he hung up. So, so being on an outdoor rink and then playing in a wood rink, I always said that, it's great for the sport that we moved into roller hockey rinks, and for a player, especially the ice kid, which unfortunately I feel like a lot of times we do things to benefit the ice kid. But, we play on these big fancy rinks. But the benefit of the outdoor rink and the rink like you have, Kev, is this to me, is when you're at a rink like yours, kids come through those doors for a lot of reasons, not just to play in the hockey league and parties, for instance. So every weekend, I don't know how many hundreds of kids can come into a rink for a party, and they see hockey, they see, nets, or they see a stick, and maybe there's a game going on before the party or later on, or they stick around or they come back, and maybe they get a bug to play hockey. Outdoor rink. I started playing because I walked by this rink every day on an outdoor park, going to the park, and there was hockey going on. And I said, Mom, I want to try that. When you have a roller hockey rink, say like a rapid fire arena or whatnot, most kids are only going there if they already want to play roller hockey. So there's not many bodies coming through the doors other than customers you already kind of captured. And I think that's where we've kind of lost some of it by not having the roller skating rinks or the outdoor rinks. And it's also less expensive at the outdoor rinks, but playing, because you're not getting more kids seeing it and then wanting to try it out. You're losing that a little bit. And that's why I think what you guys have going on is so great. And you're able to keep the costs down. You bring up a great point about cost. I've been saying for 100 years, kids should be able to come in, play for free, get free equipment to borrow. And if they love it, pay at the end of the season. They want to stick with it, great. Because as a father of 3, and, Greg's got, one on the way, you'll learn really quickly. And when you have kids, Kev, you'll learn too, that you don't mind spending money for your kids, but you don't want to drop, like you said, all this money on skates and whatnot for your kid to quit after one skate, not want to do it again. And that's the biggest deterrent to a lot of parents that aren't like us, that love hockey already, that just don't want to try it and just waste all that money. So when you get that out of the way and just get them to try it, most kids, as you know, Kev, I'm sure you see, they love it, but you got to get them in the door the first time.
No, absolutely. So 2 things with that. Just like you said, kind of kids coming into the rink on a weekend or, you know, a school party or something like that during the week. Your regular kids who come to skate at the rink, not just play hockey, but they come to like a session and they come to their weekend sessions. They are one of the best kind of, you know, for lack of a better term, tools that you have to get more kids involved. So I know that there's a couple kids here. There's one kid here who hasn't played hockey, but he's a heck of a skater. You know, he skates really well. He's here Friday, Saturday, Sunday. And he's friends with a couple of the hockey kids. And so me and the other managers here, we're actually all hockey guys. Sometimes there's a speed skating guy. Sometimes there's just a rink operator. We're all 3 of us here. We're hockey guys. And we would tell our buddy Alex, our younger guy, and we're like, hey, you know, you should really give it a try. You're a great skater and stuff. And it really stinks the way things have panned out. He was signing up for the next session to start trying to play hockey, but your regular kids who come and are good skaters and just got done being in the Springs and they're coming back for Saturday night session are very good advocates for getting kids involved and getting kids started in the sport. And then the second part of that, we used to do learn to play on Sunday mornings. So we would do our club practices, and then at 11 a.m. session would start at 12. We would do learn to play from 11 to 12. So when I first started, guy you guys know, Johnny Ingram, was kind of, you know, mentoring me and you know, showing me the ropes. And after like a couple learn to play sessions, we'd never see these kids again. You know, they would get skates and then we wouldn't see them like skating at the rink. We wouldn't see them getting hockey. And so we decided to move learn to play to Monday, where we had all of our rec league times. So we put learn to play before our rec league times. And then that way these kids see these other kids coming in and they got their shirts on and they're excited. Yeah. And, you know, these kids who are doing learn to play, they're like, well, I want to do that. I want to play games and have a shirt for my team. And so when you do kind of connect those dots and put those 2 junctions together, it's been very evident on our end that it's noticeably growing a bit. Instead of having it Sunday, last hour before session, you know, parents are walking in with cupcakes and cakes and balloons, and these kids are already forgetting about hockey because they're like, whoa, cool party's going on, you know? So yeah, we Johnny and Jeff always joke. They're like, man, we just gave away free skates for about a year because we never saw these people, you know, after their first learn to play. So yeah, you're absolutely right on those two
and GT
points.
GT, you grew up playing outdoors also, right? Face off, right? Is that what you got?
Yeah. I mean, I grew up, you know, at an outdoor rink in my town, and you know, it was right off the highway. You know, a lot of people knew about it, and that's when roller hockey was really booming. But again, like you said, Tim, the cost was very low. You know, I remember at one point it was like $35 or $40 for a full season. That was back in the early 90s.
The league I played in, I had buddies older than me that were a few years older, told me the first year they played in the Valley Stream Outdoor League, if you were a Valley Stream resident, it was $2 to play in the league. Imagine that.
Wow.
$2. And that was probably like 1980. You know, it wasn't like 1920.
That's crazy.
I remember a funny story, and you wouldn't know this name, Kevin, but Greg May. So I had a player, Jimmy Barrett, that played for my sniper teams back in the day. He was an incredible player. We won Junior Narch in '97 in Vancouver. He was one of our best players. He wanted to get into a bad accident. He stopped playing for a while. And now he's playing again. I actually saw him in a men's league this year. But he was a 78, I believe. I was coaching a local team in the outdoor league, 12 and under, this one year. This is probably about 1990, 91. And I see this kid at the rink. We used to just go for pickup after school and just shoot around. And I see this kid on a skateboard with a hockey stick just hitting a ball around or a puck in the court. But he was on a skateboard. And I just went up to him, and he had pretty good hands. And I said to him, you know, how old are you? And he was like, oh, I'm 12 or whatever. And I said, do you play hockey? And he said, a little bit, you know. And he wound up living right around the block from me. And I said, well, do you want to play? I need players, but, you know, we have a team, you know. And he wound up playing and he went on to be a stud, and a stud at Narch and national wise for us. And it just started from meeting a kid at the rink. And again, he was on a skateboard. He wasn't even on roller skates. So to your point, Kev, there's these kids out there, you grab them, you see a little something in a kid, and, all of a sudden he's a great player. And we've all had that. I grew up that way. I know CJ grew up that way. And, a lot of players do. And I think, if we got back to that a little bit more, we always talk about, well, that was the heyday of the sport. Well, maybe there's a connection. Maybe that was the heyday of the sport because we were doing these things, just great hearing the stories there in Colorado. But let's jump right into State Wars and Kevin Dwyer.
Before you do, I meant to, Greggy, congratulations, man. I wanted to tell you that we got right into it, but congrats, man. That's awesome. That's great news. And I'm very happy to hear it. And
me too,
man.
We're excited,
little GT
man.
running around. Oh boy.
Yeah, we'll see. We're waiting on the sex. So we'll see if it's a girl or boy.
You gonna do a reveal party?
Nope. We're waiting until the very end.
Nice. I think I'll probably be in that reveal party boat. So there
cool.
You go. Congrats, man.
Not really my choice. So.
Yeah. All three of mine, Kev, we didn't find out any of my three, believe it or not. And my wife always said there's very few happy surprises in life. So we waited every time, and it actually was pretty awesome. Not knowing. But to each his own with that, obviously.
Yeah. That is cool. My mom said I was a surprise too. So it's good surprise. Surprises can be good sometimes.
An awesome surprise for sure. Thanks, guys.
You're still surprising him to this day, I'm sure. So, so 2007. Let's go back in a time machine. So 2007 was Kevin's first year of playing at State Wars. Is well before
handsome devil.
Well before facial hair. So
in the pants.
Kevin played for Colorado 93. We mentioned Nick Okada 93 and Kevin in 93. I love this shot here, Kev, because you can see the puck right over your shoulder there, the old rocket puck. So I'm not sure if that one, we'll assume that hit your shoulder went over the crossbar for argument's sake here, but it's just a great shot. So that year, you guys had two goalies that year, Kev. You split the net. You went 2-0 in the round robin. And your first ever game, though, you played the first game. You won 2-1. Do you remember who you played in your first ever game at State Wars?
Oh, yeah. Team California.
Did you cheat and look that up, or you remember that?
No, man. I remember that plain as day. It was actually really funny. That was a crazy summer. I went to Narch in Florida with Fromm and the Kodiaks. I hopped on a plane when that tournament got done to go to Junior Olympics in Detroit with my buddies on Dynamite. And that tournament was in Bensonville, and you guys know, I don't know how many other people know. My parents both grew up on the south side of Chicago, so plenty of family in Chicago. So from Detroit, I think I can't remember if I got driven down or if I flew down, but from Detroit, I went to Chicago. I was on the road for a month. Going into 8th grade or freshman year or whichever year it was. But yeah, I was on the road for a month playing roller hockey. It was the coolest month of my life, and got to hang out with some family. And so my dad got into town. And I think I told you, my aunt who passed away last year, and her husband, Uncle Craig and Aunt Susan, they live in Elmhurst, which is right next to Bensonville. Yeah. So my dad and I, we were staying with Aunt Susan and Uncle Craig. And Dave, he had some requirements that the boys on Colorado that year had to do. We had to start getting up earlier because that game was an early morning game. He wanted us to start getting up earlier. He wanted us to go get a walk in the middle of the day. Remember my dad and I going on a walk, and we came back to Aunt Susan's house, and I'm trying to take a nap, and he's like, "No, you can't. You can't nap right now. This is why we're doing this." And so it's actually really funny too. I remember that tournament very, very well. I think that was kind of honestly a turning point for me personally. Because that game we beat them 2-1. It was an awesome game. It was early in the morning. I think we peaked right there. That was our best game of that tournament. And from there, each game we kind of went down and down a little bit. I think we lost to Illinois in the semifinal, and then we lost to Pennsylvania in the consolation game. So we were loaded too. We had a bomb squad. And I remember before the semifinal game, Fromm said, he brought in a bronze medal, and the 91s had just won the consolation game. And he told us this is what a missed opportunity looks like. And man, we dropped the ball too. So yeah, I do remember. I think Garrett Haar was on that team.
Yep.
I can't remember who their goalie was, but yeah, they had a couple studs. And then Delia was a 94, right?
Yep.
Colin Delia from California. So yeah, he was the next year below. But yeah, I vividly remember that month of that summer and just playing and leading up. That was like a big game that a lot of the kids on our team had kind of like circled on the calendar.
Yeah, anytime you see California, I think Timmy Francis was the goalie for the '93 California that year.
Okay.
It was a great goalie then. And I think you split with Kyle Cristofanelli was the goalie.
Kyle Cristofanelli, yeah.
Yeah.
Little guy. I haven't heard that name or seen that guy in a really, really long time. So,
well, here you can see you here impressively. You had an .875 save percentage of that tournament, and you won our NXI Most Valuable Goalie, which was, if you remember, a custom helmet you won that year from NXI, which was a pretty cool prize we gave out the first 2 years.
Do you know that I never got that helmet?
Really?
That company like went under. Yeah.
Oh, really? Okay.
We never got the helmet that year. And while we're on the subject of correcting, if you guys play that film back of Okada scoring that goal, it's actually on Charles Robinson.
Oh, was it?
So
Really?
it was on Chuck. Yeah, you guys didn't do your homework.
Oh,
so.
man.
But no, I'm just messing. No. So it is funny. I remember Kaysen Homan and VCal were the other winners of the awards that year. And yeah, that was pretty cool. I think I'm wearing my brother's like old Air Force Ones in that picture. And I remember my mom looking at the picture. She looks at VCal and she's like, "See, his legs are hairy. Why aren't your legs like that?" I don't know. I can't control that. So yeah, that was man, just because that was those years in Chicago. I mean, with the family being close by and family coming to watch the games, I remember that very, very well.
Well, it's funny because you talk about goalie stats and stuff, and it's so hard with us. Whenever teams have 2 goalies, that's where our stats always get crazy. And it till even today in 2020, because the referees, the scorekeeper doesn't know which goalie's in. If they switch goalie, it always gets crazy. And especially back then, every team pretty much had 2 goalies. And it's hard to figure out sometimes who won, who lost. I know that year in 07, we have you down as going 2-0 in the round robin. And that first game ever win. But you're right. You lost 3-0 to Illinois in the first playoff game, and you had beaten them in the round robin, actually. There's a shot of you with the Raptors at Winter Wars West. We had that tournament in Colorado the first few years at RMR, which was always a great time for us.
You definitely had hair on your legs then, Kev. Looks like the puberty stage right there.
Yeah.
Cody Kettler always gives me a lot of crap about that helmet. He's like, I remember showing him a video and he's like, "What are you wearing?"
Right. Well, 2011 was your last year with the 93s. You didn't play for a few years. You came back in 2011, and I think that was in Cincinnati. And you went 1-1 in the net in the round robin. Again, you were splitting in the net. Might have been with Jonathan Joy at that point.
I was just gonna say, who was it? Was it Joy that? I think it was.
Yeah,
I think it
so
was.
too.
Was that the tryout that you, Tim, were shooting on us to like determine who was going to be like a goalie or something like that?
Yeah, it was always tough. We come.
I think it was me,
wire.
Jonathan, and Thomas Casillas or something like that. Yeah, I remember that too. I loved the unis that year. We were the Rockies colors that year.
Yep.
Yeah, the first game of the playoffs here, you guys lost to Michigan 3-2, and Mitch Stewart scored the overtime winner. And Chris Kirk was the goalie for them at that time. 19 shots, 16 saves, and then you guys wound up losing the bronze medal game to Ohio 4-3. But also that year you played junior as well. You split the net with your buddy now with Roller Dad News, Rob Woods. You and him shared the net that year, and we'll get into Roller Dad a little bit later. Yeah. But I guess Rob's a little older. He was more the older statesman. He played 3 games in the round robin. You only played 1 in the round robin. You went 1-0. He was 2-0-1. And then you guys got to the playoffs, got beat up pretty good by Missouri the first game. Rob was the goalie of record. And then you guys wound up having a 1-0 win over Michigan in the next playoff game. I guess that was for the bronze medal. And a pretty impressive Michigan team. Both Spezias, Lemke, Kish, Cam Johnson was their goalie. And you guys won that game 1-0 to win the bronze medal.
I'm trying to remember. I remember playing Michigan in like the junior age group in round robin. I remember Phelps scored like 3 goals on Strauss or maybe it was Cam Johnson. It was one of those two, one of those really good Michigan goalies. I remember Phelps was, our age. He's a 93 and he's tearing up juniors and just like, holy cow, we look good. But I think the overall theme in all of that is Colorado kept coming up a little short. We had a real knack for coming up short, man. And I think Spees even mentioned on the one that he was on, like, I threw him a shoulder in the lobby or something like that.
Yeah.
And it's really funny. I like kind of remember that a little bit. I don't remember it as vividly as some other stuff, but when he said that, I'm like, oh man, I did do that. Like, what a jerk you were. And it was because Phelps, Tours was in Dallas that summer. It was at the Dr. Pepper Center. And so we didn't go that year and Phelps did. And he came back and he's like, Speezy is a little prick, little jerk, a little bitch and all this. And so, we're young. We're like, yeah, screw Spezia. And so we played them twice at Narch in Florida and we knocked them out of the playoffs. And then we played them like 4 more times at State Wars. So it was just like a very intense summer rivalry in 2011. Yeah. So we just had this little like feud with Spees, like we're not going to lose to him and stuff. So I think that's where that came up. And then look, it bit me in the ass because look, they ended up beating us, in the 93 age range. Yeah, I know. He's such a stud. He's so fast. That junior game that we won. I think Rob played that game. I don't remember playing that game.
No, the only game you played in junior was you beat New York 4-2, which was Chavo and Kocher and those boys, and then Rob kind of played the rest of the way in junior.
Okay.
But yeah, so that was that, and then in 2012, you played Juggernaut Junior and Elite. That was in St. Peters, Missouri that year. That was your last year with Colorado at that time, and did pretty well. Juggernauts and juniors, you got to the final game. You lost both finals. I believe you lost to the Young Guns in junior, which your boys there, Novak and Kettler and those boys, and you lost to Okada and them in the Juggernaut final. And the Elite team went 1-3, didn't do as well. But then in 2013, you started playing over at Lindenwood. You were eligible to play with Missouri. You said, I can't beat them. I'm going to join them. You jumped in with the Missouri guys. And right up the bat here, you see you playing with Missouri. You guys won the gold medal in the Elite division and in the junior division.
Oh, man. Robert Berman. I miss that guy. I don't know what he's up to.
As the Elite, you guys won $10,000 for the pro division. Pretty stacked team there for Missouri.
Yeah, that was a stacked team. If you look up there, number 7, big Brandon Bolig. That was cool. Mikowski, I don't know where Mikowski's playing at, but that was the first chance I got to kind of be around him, and he's a stud. I remember in the semis against California, I don't think Phil took a shift all game, but he was not happy with a call or something that happened on the rink, and I actually have the DVDs from this year. He hops on the rink just to talk to the ref, and he goes all the way to the other board and skates back and just hops right back on the bench. It's one of the funniest things ever. But yeah, man, what a
Josh Dunn there, Greg, up top.
Yep.
I can't believe the year prior. So the Meltdown won, and the guy in the middle of that picture, he was their goalie. And the fact that like they kind of let me ride with it, I love Dave Thomas. I love DT, and it's very precarious, how things have gone for him. Like he'd be up and then he'd be down, and then he'd be up and he'd be down. And so it's just the way the game goes sometimes. But yeah, look, I mean, AC, O'Kane, I was texting O'Kane the other day. First time I got to play with Jumbo, not against him, and Garsh. So yeah, that was a great team, man. And Bolig came through and he scored an important goal in that semifinal against California. That was one of my favorite games looking back on against California. That was a fun semifinal. I think we won 6-5 in overtime.
Yeah, that's remember. I think DT might have played goal in that game. But
I think the only game he played against was against Wisconsin.
Oh, really? Okay.
I think he let like 1 or 2 goals in, and Phil Maroon looks at me and he goes, "Get ready." I'm like, dude, this was like.
He's fine.
And Wisconsin's got Cripps and Kavaya, I think. I think that's all they had on their team at the time. And another one went in, and Phil goes, "Get in there!" Like, Jesus, Phil.
You remember who scored the overtime winner in that 6-5 win over PAMA for you guys?
Sean Garsh.
Correct.
Yep, I was going to say that too.
Sean Garsh scored that.
Yeah.
And then the
who Marisek was in net for California.
Yeah, and then the next championship game, you beat the very stacked Border Cat team 4-3. And then in the junior division, you guys went 3-0-1. Playoffs come, you beat Ohio 2-1, and then championship game 2-1 over New York Black Ice in double overtime.
Double, yeah, okay,
And
yeah.
you remember who scored that double overtime winner for you guys in juniors?
Tommy Wilson?
Cody Baugh.
Cody Baugh. Oh, no way.
And you guys had you and Brett Humes sharing the net there. So always
Hummies was skating out. I'm pretty sure Hums was skating out that year.
He did a little bit of
out. Okay.
Yeah. Hummy skated. It was awesome. To go back the year before in 2012, that year was pretty special to me because just like you said, it was like my last year with the Colorado boys. We were playing in St. Peter's. My brother was playing on our junior and our elite team. And so like that trip was a ton of fun, you know, getting to be with Frank, getting to be with the Batemans and Phelps. We had a room, you know, that hotel, Greg, tucked behind the Quick Trip off TR Hughes.
Yeah.
We were at that hotel and it was just 5 of us in a room and it was just awesome. That was a really, really fun summer. And then, you know, the next summer we've got blonde hair because we went to Florida for Lindenwood and luckily had, you know, some of those LU guys on some of those teams and kind of like you said, if you can't beat them, join them. So yeah, I was pretty fortunate to be right place, right time with some really good players.
Well, you know, 2014 Indiana was a pretty good year for you as well. You know, here's a picture of the junior team. You guys won 3-1, you were 3-1 in the round robin. What's funny about this year, Kev, and correct me if I'm wrong, the only game you guys lost in the round robin was to Colorado, which had to burn you a little bit. But you guys got the last laugh, coming back in the playoffs, beating New York 4-3, then beating Missouri the other Missouri team 6-0, and you guys wound up winning the gold medal in that junior division. And you also played the elite division as well. And you guys wound up taking the bronze medal. You lost to the Young Guns with Brett Humes in the championship game there.
So the goalie
MVG,
for Colorado.
by the way, no biggie, Kevin. You MVG that year, a .952 save percentage in the elite division.
I remember on that note, I remember texting Greg after the tournament, and I was like, "Hey, who won most valuable goalie in elite?" He goes, "Oh, I don't know. Let me look." And it was because in my head, I'm like, you know what? Like I had a pretty unreal like round robin. Like, you know, I think all the boys, a lot of the team from the year prior were on the team that year. And we were rolling. I remember making like a big save on Hawkins when we played Michigan that year in round robin. So yeah, that Colorado game's funny. One of my co-managers, his name Cody Stevens. I still call him Cody Miller. He was the goalie. He works up at the Westminster location for Skate Cities, and I believe his buddy Isaac, who works with him, was there as well. So yeah, it's an interesting cast of characters from Colorado that year. In that game, everything went wrong for us, and Cody Stevens just stood on his head. He made save. I remember getting in the locker room and Cody Kettler was like, "Are you kidding me? Are you freaking kidding me? Some of those saves." So like, you know how Cody gets. So he's just going and going. And in my head, I'm like, yeah, that's Cody Stevens, man. He'll frustrate you if he gets hot in some games. So yeah.
I don't know if Greg will remember this, but that year in elite, when you won the bronze, you had one tie in the round robin. It was a rare 1-1 tie in roller hockey, and it was against Greg Thompson's junior elite team from New York.
Yeah.
Casey Escarcega scored the only goal for you guys, and Joe Mazie, Greg, scored for you guys in a 1-1 tie, and Kevin had a pretty big game that game for them.
I do remember that game. That was when we had KJ and those guys playing with us, correct, Tim? KJ and Billy and yeah, that was a hard fought game. I do remember that. That was a good one.
And then the next year, Kev, sorry, the next year, 2015, you took silver in the junior division, losing to a very tough PA Black Ice team, 3-2 in double overtime. Tyler Kraft scored the double overtime winner in the championship there. They had Shane Fox, Tyler Kraft. You were playing with Missouri there as well. And you took home the silver medal that year after going undefeated to that point.
What year was that?
2015.
And that was in St. Louis, correct?
Yep.
Mhm.
I remember that. That game was crazy. I was dead tired too. I remember just being tired, and I remember like Pennsylvania only had like 6 guys or something, right?
Yep.
5 or 6 guys. So like obviously they were tired too. And who was their goal? Oh, their goalie was kind of the bigger, long blonde-haired guy, right?
Yeah, he played at Newman with them.
Yeah, and he played like lights out that game. So yeah, those
Tim Brown, maybe like Tim Brown might have been the goalie.
Yeah, it might have been Tim Brown. Yeah, they also had that the other guy.
He was one of Crafty's buddies. He came over to the boys' Lindenwood house like when Elite was going on for a little bit. So Tim Brown. I just couldn't remember what year that was.
They had Tim Brown and the other tall guy. I forget his name. But
I love the Recplex. The Recplex is a great venue for your guys' event. I really enjoy when it's at the Recplex and the atmosphere of kind of everything going on. And the Recplex is a lot of fun.
So here's a picture. We had the Elite All-Star game the one year, 2014 in Fort Wayne. And you, of course, were one of the goalies in the Elite All-Star game, winning MVG that year. And we got to pick a fan and a raffle to come out with each player to give a jersey to. So that had to be a pretty cool moment for you to give out a jersey with a youngster there. Because if you remember, and you can see in the background a bit, the place was packed for that game.
Absolutely. No, absolutely. I remember posting that picture and Phil Maroon commenting like #twinning.
I was going to say, it looks like your little brother.
Yeah, we found
a little bit. Yeah. No, the All-Star game was so much fun, man. I really enjoyed the All-Star game. You just get all the guys from the pro division getting ready together and kind of having a couple laughs. And, nobody's going out there to get hurt. They just kind of want to put on some skill and some showcase for the fans. As you said, packed house because you guys set it up very well where, I think an awards ceremonies after that. And so all the kids get a raffle ticket and, you're raffling off a jersey. That's a pretty sweet jersey too. I like that jersey a lot. But yeah, that was the All-Star games were fun. I remember the year before in St. Louis. So it might've been Pat Maroon. It might've been somebody else. There was a dad like over the exit to the rink. And there was a dad like, give me your jersey to somebody. And they're like, no, dude, I'm going to give this to a kid. Relax. And there's a dad wigging out trying to get jerseys. People love those jerseys, man. And it just shows the passion that these parents and families and kids have for State Wars and for seeing the best of the best.
When I was going through those Elite All-Star game pictures, Greg, I just couldn't believe. I forgot how big the crowds were at that game. Every picture, it was just wall to wall, and then upstairs in the bar area was packed, and all around the rink, just like our PAMA Pro games are. So that was pretty awesome. And actually, to show what Kevin means to a lot of people in Colorado, we got a shout out on our podcast here from Teresa Vargas saying, Miles misses playing the net a ton, Kev, and hope to see you soon. So I'm sure that's people.
You guys posted the little like story or maybe the post yesterday, and I'm looking at my Instagram and I saw that Teresa had followed me. So yeah, they were really looking forward to tryouts. They were very excited that we were going to be a part of tryouts. And she was asking me, when can we get some time for Miles to kind of get some one-on-one work and stuff. And Miles is a good kid and Teresa's a wonderful lady. They're from Chicago. So that doesn't hurt anything in my book either. So hello to Teresa and Miles. And I hope you guys are doing well. And hopefully I'll be seeing you sooner than later.
For sure. And, let's get right into the PAMA Pro division. So anytime you could play net in the best pro division in the world, it's got to be stressful, exciting, enjoyable, and everything in between. And obviously not that a goalie is not important on every team, but on that Connex team, I would say that, for sure, when you circle most important players on a team, you're definitely at the top of the list for sure of how important a goalie is to a team and a team's success. The first year, though, 2015, you played with the Puck Fit Indians, which was Etan and Joaquin.
Puck Fit.
That team together the first year. And, you guys didn't make the playoffs. You went 0-2-2, though. You guys tied the Mudcats and PAMA, which is amazing when you look at it. You talk about the strength of a tournament. Those were your ties, the Mudcats and PAMA, and you still didn't win a game. So they didn't make the playoffs. 2016, you didn't play, but 2017, 18, 19, playing with the Connex Pure. And 17 and 18, you had pretty good years. You guys went 2-2 in the round robin, beating, the Mudcats one year, the Border Cats the next year. And then you just had tough playoff games in the quarterfinals. One year losing a 1-goal or 2-goal game to the Snipers. The next year losing a great game with the Black Ice. Just obviously every matchup is tough. And then last year was a little bit of a stinker, 0-4 for the team. Just hit a bump in the road, which just happens to everyone. But just speak for a minute as a goalie, just the strength of that division and just a little bit about just playing net in the PAMA Pro.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Bringing puck fit up, man, that's already 5 years ago. That's insane. And that was a fun year too. That was kind of dipping your toe in the water, and next gen was there. There were still the Sniper. I know you guys ended up winning. You guys had like KJ and Billy. I think Dees was playing on Alkali that year. But no, it's you basically, when that schedule comes out, you understand that there's no games off, there's no shifts off. Everything that happens in a game, that year in 2017 at Detroit that we're looking at right now, I remember after our last game against Sweden, Nick's kind of like pacing in the locker room, and we're like, "What's wrong?" Like, we're good, we're 2-2, and Nick's like, "No, like he's like, the Roadrunners play the Excitement tonight. If Excitement doesn't win by X amount, XYZ, like we're out." So we're in the stands, and Nick's freaking out because this game is going back and forth a little bit, and Vio's on his phone looking at stuff, and Nick's like, "Jesus, I'm sure he's figuring this out now. Like they're gonna." So it's so intense. Every goal for, every goal against, one bad play, one bad line change, you don't have the puck for 5 minutes. All those little things add up to, those final 8 standings that you get when playoffs start. So, it's almost a cliche in a way, but every play counts, every possession counts, every face-off counts. And it boils down to everything adding up to you needing to be there to perform and to be able to kind of execute. And if you take a shift or two off in a game, or you make a mistake here and there, that's the game. You touched on it against Black Ice. The quarterfinal against Black Ice 2 years ago in St. Louis, it was 0-0 until 8 minutes left in the game. It was 0-0 for the whole game. And I'm going to put him on blast, but Tommy Toohey, he's coming up the floor. He makes a pass that he thinks is going to like get through, and Billy's right there. Billy picks it off, and Billy's like, "Thank you." And it's a 2-on-1 the other way. Billy scores a goal. There's 7.5 minutes left against Black Ice. I don't know, a team like us, that's a hard thing to recover from. We couldn't get a goal all that time leading up, and now we've got to get one just to tie it again. And so, I was listening to Nick when he was on here, and I think one thing that our team really needs is kind of like a bit of a game breaker, somebody who can generate a lot of offense. We throw them out there. But man, every face-off, every play, it comes down to, are you willing to sacrifice what you need to get the job done, and in order to, be the more competitive team that's going to win these games. And it's a 36-minute game, and watching the games, it feels long, and being in the games, it feels a little bit longer.
Yeah. I know from a Sniper perspective, Greg, speaking of Kevin, and this will lead into Team USA at one moment, but, as coach of Team USA, when I'm looking at goalies, something that always stuck out to me, in 2017, we played Connex twice, and the playoff game, we won 3-2, and they were winning 1-0 at halftime on us. And, Kevin was playing unreal. And then we played them also at Narch in Atlanta, which is another game that sticks out to me where, we pretty much dominated that whole tournament except for one game, and that was a game against them. And, we blew out Black Ice in the final. We really blew through everyone, but the only team that we struggled with was Connex. And I believe it was Brandon Hawkins scored a late goal in that game that wound up being the difference maker. But Kevin, again, just was so difficult for us. So the 2 times seeing a goalie in person like that when you're invested in the game. So Greg, just talk a minute about just playing against Kevin.
Yeah, obviously Kevin's a big boy. There's not a lot of net to shoot at, and when he's playing his angles right and he's moving the way he can move, it's really tough. And obviously, over the years we've seen him grow as a goaltender, and he's playing smart, and that's hard to beat. A lot of these goalies like to get flashy when they're a little younger, and as they get a little older, they start to realize, well, let's just play a little smarter and position. And Kevin uses that body to his advantage, and it's really tough to beat him. That's for sure. Because I know I barely do, if I ever have.
That year in Detroit in 2017, after the game, for us, it sucks saying it. It almost kind of felt like a win in a way, because we were right there. We had the lead for a little bit. I think Waring scored with 20 seconds left or something like that to make it 3-2.
Yeah.
But I remember Rowan Porter coming up to me afterward, and he's like, we were freaking out on the bench. He's like, I thought you were pitching one, man. And it was cool to hear that. And Redmond, even, later that summer, I messaged him about something, but Redmond was like, hey man, that was one of the best performances I've ever seen you put on. And
Yeah.
for him to say that to me, that was huge. And so, fast forward a year into Atlanta in that semifinal, I wanted to do anything that I could in my power to beat you guys. And if that means, frustrating Whitey and, Hawkins has to have the C's part to get a goal, then so be it. But yeah, it's you want to play with a chip on your shoulder. You want to show everybody that, you're here to play. And yeah, those are some good games. Those are some good games. I think we had another close one at State Wars later that summer too. I think like 3-2 over on the middle rink.
Yep.
Well, here's a clip last year of you at State Wars playing against the Mission Bauer Border Cats.
Now Siciliano the other way, possible 2-on-1 if they hurry. Near side, shot by Siciliano, and it's a pad stop by Dwyer, which springs the puck the other way.
Yeah, obviously there's a lot of saves we could choose, but that one was huge just because, like I said before, Kevin plays his ankles so well, and there was not a lot of net to shoot at even on that 2-on-1, so that was pretty impressive.
Siciliano back in 2013 at in Darien in that championship, he sniped me to tie that game up. And then somebody went back down. It might have been Jumbo who put one in on Strauss, but I think Siciliano is a very kind of low key, undercover, like under the radar guy. A lot of people kind of don't give him respect. I think he's a hell of a player. So
he's he can skate. He's fast, and he works his tail off.
He's shifty, and he can kind of wing that puck in and just get a good release off of it. So that Border Cats game was frustrating, man. Purcell came in and scored like a minute into the game, and then second period they just got 2 like bang bang, and again we're playing from behind. And I think our team is best when we're playing at a tie game. I know that sounds kind of weird, but when we're at a tie game, there's no pressure. We're just doing our thing. We're possessing the puck as long as we can. And, again, it kind of goes back to like here and there, we need a game breaker on offense. And, Aldi, not having Aldi around doesn't help, but, we can't put that all on his shoulders. So.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mentioned to Boyarski the other day, and you got a shout out too from Diane Ray, said, hey, Kevin, on our podcast here. But, Kevin, when you're playing from behind, no matter what team you are, it's very difficult, and I don't care if you're a Snipers or Black Ice or you're Conics, playing with the lead, playing like you said, tie game.
Die, sorry. Hey, Die.
It's all the same. And, when you're playing from behind, it's difficult. And I think that's what happens a lot to teams that are maybe on that second tier right now, working to get to the top tier, is they fall behind more than other teams. Now, like our Sniper team, when we lost a few years ago to the Border Cats in the quarterfinal, we fell behind and we never recovered. And we're a much better team with a lead than we are without it. And it may sound like a dumb comment, but it really is true, and I think that's the big thing about having good starts and not falling apart when you give up that one backbreaker goal. You have a 1-1 game at half, you're feeling really good, and you give up a goal. to start the second half, and then your team just explodes or implodes, and then you give another one quick, and then the game's over. And that's part of a maturity thing. But I got to ask you, as a goalie, I mean, you've been a part of both sides. I mean, when you played at Lindenwood, and we'll get to Lindenwood in a minute, obviously very dominant team most of the time. And I would assume most games that you played at Lindenwood, you probably weren't the hugest factor in a lot of them as a goalie, as a whole, most of the games. And then, those years playing with the young guns as a junior team or whatnot, you stole games here or there, but you didn't have to be the focal point every game. Where with Connex, obviously a lot rides on you in every single game at the PAMA Pro. So do you prepare differently in those games? Like when you know that, hey, I'm the guy here and I have to be at my best in order to win, as opposed to maybe in some other situations where you may be able to give a bad goal and know that we'll still be okay? I mean, does that change in your mind for setting up for that game, or is it all the same?
I think over the years, I'm still in my head. Goalies are weird. Goalies develop even as they get a little bit older and stuff. And I think, guys like Reds or, McCollum and, they'll kind of tell you that too. They're always picking up on a little bit here and there to, better kind of mentally prepare. I remember that year in Detroit in 2017 at PAMA Pro, like before every game, I had my headphones on. I was juggling. I was, trying to get in my own zone. And then the next year in St. Louis, I kind of like 180 from that. I was just in the locker room. I was laughing with the boys and hanging out. And I remember Aldi came up and he's like, last year you were like kind of weird and isolating yourself. And now you're like hanging. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know. I'm just trying to be comfortable. I'm trying to be on the same page with everybody. I think one thing I learned from Lindenwood, like one of the biggest takeaways is, you instill a winning mentality. You instill a confidence kind of in yourself and the guys around you, because I'm sure there were times, Greggy, where, you guys were like down to a team that you shouldn't be down to, but it's just, it's hockey. It's kind of one of those things that it's just like, well, obviously they're outworking us, or, they're working for their bounces and stuff like that. And so with Ronnie and at Lindenwood, that was one of my biggest takeaways is, you're at practice, you're thinking about kind of games that you're going to play in and in these situations, but you really develop a confident and a winning mentality that if you get down by one or two, like as a goalie, you can't score goals. You have to do whatever you can do to, stop the bleeding sometimes. It's kind of funny you mentioned it too. My last game at Lindenwood, I think it was the first ever shutout in the program's history, and we got shut out 1-0. So that's kind of what I wouldn't say necessarily like my Lindenwood legacy is, but it's, I think back on it and I find it ironic that we lost 1-0 in my last game, playing at Lindenwood. Yeah, and you just think like, that one shot, if I save that one shot, it could be a different game, right. But Bethel wanted it more that game. And so it's just kind of, just like I said, there's things you pick up on as the years. And I think going to Lindenwood, I think playing with some of those guys, the young guns and the meltdown and stuff like that, those Mo boys, just like, I've heard Grant Fuhr wasn't probably the best goalie ever, but he was one of the best timely goalies. He had stacked teams. He had Waino and Messier and Yari Curry on his team and guys who could put the puck in whenever they wanted. But if you're in a tight game and you kind of give up, a goal or here and there, but you have confidence in your team and your boys in front of you, that timely moment is going to happen that you got to kind of like be there for. And so you kind of just got to look forward when something, doesn't go your way. So, the summer against the Czech, when we went down, in my head, it's like, no, we're all right. We're all right. Like we got plenty of time. We got a bomb squad. We've been peppering them all game. Ultimately, we fall short in that game. But if you don't have the right mentality throughout that, however many minutes of a game it is that you're down, ultimately bad things are going to come back your way. You got to have confidence and you got to have a good mentality and attitude that, regardless of what team you're on, you got to weather the storm and you got to kind of look at things ahead and not behind.
Well, I think one of the things that's funny, Greg and Kevin, about goaltending is, and it's hard to judge this at times, especially on the youth side, is, the team in front of you is a factor, and sometimes goalies are on good teams and sometimes goalies are not on good teams. And it reminds me of a tryout that Greg and I had years ago, Kevin, in North Carolina. And we had a bunch of goalies trying out. And I don't remember what the birth year was. Doesn't matter.
It was like 05 or something. Yeah.
Yeah. And it came down to 2 kids. And, when you were younger, we took 2 goalies on a team. But now we take 1 because, honestly, a lot of goalie parents would complain when we had 2 goalies. So we started going with 1, which is a whole different story. But these 2 goalies were both pretty good. And as you mentioned, Greg and I went out there. We were shooting on the kids and doing some different things. And we have our way of looking at, the goalies. And clearly to us, one kid was better than the other. And we don't know these kids from Adam. I mean, we know their names, but we don't know who they play for and whatnot. And, of course, every parent thinks, we have reports on every kid of what teams they play with.
Scouting reports. Your staff was scouting out at the
we're scouting a 12-year-old beforehand. So anyway, long story short, we picked the one kid who plays on the second best team in the area, and we cut the kid who's the best goalie on the best team. And a couple parents and a coach came up, because basically what it was most of the kids that made the team play on that top team, and their goalie got cut. And then the kid from the second team that they beat all the time made the team. So we had a couple parents question us, and I never forget the goalie of the kid that got cut's mother, almost in tears. I felt terrible, but her argument was, you don't get it. We beat that goalie all the time. And my answer to her was, it's not a tennis match. It's not your son versus that goalie one-on-one. It's teams involved. And yeah, your team may be better than his team, but no offense, doesn't mean that your son is better than him. And we, based on the 2-hour tryout, and I always preface by saying, you know what, maybe 364 days out of the year, your son is better than him, but today he was better than his son. And the coach, he understood, but it was his goalie, so he felt bad. But anyway, we move forward. Get to State Wars that summer, and the goalie we picked wins MVG of the division. And the coach comes up to me and says, hey, Tim, I got to talk to you for a second. He grabs me on the side and says, hey, I just want to apologize and just let you know that I never realized how good that goalie was until he played for me. And you guys were spot on. He is better than that other goalie, but he just was always facing a million shots to us. And our goalie basically was having a cup of coffee half the time. Yeah. And, fast forward, even a pro division, whatever, obviously Troy Redmond's a great goalie on our team, but he's on a very good team, and, Chinny's a very good goalie. He's on a very good team. And, so it's hard to compare goalies when it's a team game and you're on a team that maybe isn't as strong, head to toe with some other teams, but you're a great goalie and you keep them in the game. So it's tough to compare goalies, and it's for us impossible. But you obviously, you're a great goalie and it's a team game, right?
Yes. Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. I can't say thank you and appreciate that enough. But, I think my parents are listening right now and my dad might be crawling as I'm saying this. I think growing up, goalies who are used to being the guy, the one goalie, I think they need to experience having another goalie on the team. For me, it was Stallions. It was the second year Yoder was here doing it. They put another goalie on our team. And, I'm young and, listening to my parents and it's like, why is he on the team? And it's like, I don't know, but what am I going to do? And so, from an early age, if you learn it, you learn to work together. You kind of learn that like, this is your teammate. You don't want to see them not doing good. And so, as a younger guy, it took me a little bit of time to kind of, get around to that fact. But then, I play a season of AAA hockey. I'm the only goalie they take from the camp. They bring in a kid a year younger than me from Quebec. And, it just kind of things got flipped upside down. It was very bizarre. And so that was one of the weird tandems and relationships I had, like goalie wise. And then you fast forward to, me getting to Lindenwood and playing with Humes, splitting time with Rob here at home with the Prowlers, being with Chinny. I really think for kids to understand and develop, a very team culture, a very team mentality, these young goalies who are studs, they need to go through that process. They need to know what it's like to have somebody in their position that is their teammate, that they want to see do well. They want to see succeed, because ultimately it's the team who is succeeding in that regard. So that's something too, just like you said, is this how you prepare for? Like now with Conics, I mean, Charlie, when we're at tournaments, Charlie's there. And I know that kid. I know he's not sitting there wishing me ill will. He wants the team to do good, but he's sitting there thinking, if worse comes to worse, I got to hop in there. Similar thing.
That pushes you to be better too.
Absolutely. And it
you don't want to give up your spot.
You want a little healthy competition. You don't want the unhealthy competition between goalies. You want a healthy competition. You want these guys to support each other. You want them to battle. You want them to talk about things they see that they're doing. But you want them to get along, and you want them to, want the team to succeed. It's a great
Perfect example right there.
But, yeah. And I mean, Chinny and I, it's a great example. We battled against each other, with Lindenwood and Newman for, 3 years in a row, and then with Black Ice and other teams and stuff like that. And I love that guy. I called him last week, and he was saying him and Foxy were going to go golfing with a bunch of, Chinny's guys he's got working, but that's one of my lifelong buddies now. Brett Humes, who's got a kid here coming soon too. He's one of my lifelong buddies. And, another goalie at Lindenwood, Brian Lowry and stuff. And so goalies are such a kind of unique and finicky position. But if these young kids don't kind of see the value in having either another goalie, if they're not playing their best, or another goalie to kind of push them, that hinders them. And there was a time at Narch in 2011, there was a goalie on our Kodiak's team. Fromm wasn't there. The two guys that were there put Kyle Hayden in, and for a long time, I held a grudge about it. The other day, I messaged him on Instagram. I was like, hey, man, when you're in town, let me know. Let's catch up. And there's no reason to hold grudges on a game that, Chavo scored 4 goals in or something like that in a championship, because it's in the past now, and that's a big thing I've tried working on too as I get older.
Yeah, and you're not making that decision. The coaches are making it.
No, exactly.
Well, I think what happens, Kev, is, and I want to move on to get into Team USA quick before we let you go, is, when we first started State Wars, every team had 2 goalies on it. And yeah, you could say it's a business side too. You want, bigger teams, more money coming in, but that honestly wasn't the reason. Our thought originally with goalies was, listen, it's a lot of money people are spending to go travel. If God forbid this goalie gets sick or breaks his leg or doesn't show up or anything, the team is screwed. Now they don't have a goalie, right?
Yeah.
So we had 2 goalies, and what would happen is after the first or second year, you get some parents, and some of them, whether it's the ego of their kid or not, but their honest answer was, well, it's a lot of money to go play to maybe only play 2 or 3 games. A big travel. It's not like we're playing on an 80-game season. And I'm like, so I understand that point of it. So what we started doing was we charged the goalie half the price if there's 2, which I understand there's still hotels and everything involved. But, at State Wars, you play a minimum of 5 games. So you're at least playing 2 if the coach splits them. And if you make a playoff game more, you're probably playing 3, So a lot of tournaments might just play 3 games total. So, and there's skills competition, there's awards presentation, there's a lot going on.
Yeah.
But so we went to 1 because of the parents. But honestly, I think it's a lot of pressure on a kid to know that I'm the only goalie. If something comes up, their grandparent dies before the tournament, we got to go to the tournament. You're the only goalie. We can't stay home, or he's not feeling good. He's got to get in goal, or he just has a bad day and doesn't want to play. You know how it is. Your kid's young and he's just not feeling it. And I think to your point, that teammate side of learning to share is so important for kids anyway, and rely on each other and root for each other. It's just, we don't have time to get into it even deeper, but I've always believed in a 2 goalie system. So let's get right into Team USA, where we had a great 2 goalie system. So, this last year as a head coach for Team USA, I had the honor of calling up Kevin Dwyer and asking him for his first time ever to represent Team USA and play at a world championship. So real quickly, and it's just a funny conversation because I was the one that asked you, but just got to ask you, what went through your mind when you hung up the phone that first time I called you and asked you that? I'm assuming it was a pretty awesome feeling.
Man, it was really cool. I think you had texted me. You kind of gave me a little bit of a novel, and my dad and I think I had a day off. And my dad and we met for lunch, and I told him, I was like, hey, Timmy invited me to, be on the team this year for USA. And he was like, really? And he was pumped because, we talked about it on our podcast a little bit. I got invited to Double I's years ago. I believe it was 2014. Greg, you were there.
Yep.
And yeah, I felt like I had a really good camp, and, Cooner and Lane had good camps too. And that's who Joe and Brennan took. And hey, awesome. I great for them. The next year we're playing at tours, and they did the showcase or the kind of selection process through watching the pro division at tours, because everybody was there. Yep. And they took I think Redmond, Lane, and Mello. And I was very animated. I was very upset. And again, it just, even as a 22-year-old at that time, I think you still have maturing to do. You still have growing up to do, because I sent Dan and Joe a long text that I had no business sending, voicing my frustration. So I wrote both of them an apology letter that they had waiting for them when they came home that year. And, you kind of, when that happens, you take a step back and you think, you know what, I'm way out of my league here saying these things, when I got to put the work in. If they're seeing that I'm not there, then there's something that I'm not doing to be there. So for me to get that text last year, I was very excited. I was to the moon, man. It's been a dream of mine since going to Lindenwood. Really, I know there was USA things as a kid, but going to Lindenwood and hearing about Cody Kettler getting invited to go to Germany, and other guys and things like that, and seeing Brennan Luscombe and Leggett for Canada, it's like, man, that's like the pinnacle. That's what I want, And so to get the call up, it was amazing, man. It was awesome. And, again, thank you.
I think, and Greg was on the team for many years. I got invited to camp in 95, but I never played on the team. And I think the problem is it's so hard. And I'll just speak from a coach now. When you have a camp, like Joe and I had the camp in 2017, was the only year I did a camp.
In Chicago, right?
In Chicago. And, we had to say no to a Tyler Kraft, a KJ Tiffenworth, a Larry Atagoki, a Ryan Kish, a Chinny, a Matt Gerger, like some really, really great players. And they all deserve to be on the team because they're all really good. But it's like the old story, like, well, then who don't you take, And then last year, when it wasn't a camp and it's more of inviting players and then, a little a board vote or whatnot, but I'm pretty much, along with Greg, making the final decisions. It's so hard because there's so many good players, and
you could field 3 teams.
Yeah, and I bring it back to
2 teams at least.
Greg and I have been talking a lot on this podcast about The Last Dance, the Michael Jordan documentary going on, and Isaiah Thomas, cries to this day that he didn't make the Team USA team for the Dream Team that year, and they talk about just chemistry, and I always come back to that, where as well as I do, the chemistry we had in Barcelona last year was amazing, and you could have one wrong player in that group and it could screw up the entire chemistry, goalie or not, and even coach, and then you don't win. So it's not always the best team, but the right team. And it's hard when you're the final decision maker on that, because everyone's picking you apart and everyone's second guessing you, as and it's not easy. But when we're picking goalies, we're talking about, all right, Greg, can these 2 guys work together? And that's why I threw you guys into a room together as roommates to get to be around each other all the time. Because I didn't know how well you guys knew each other at that point, and I want that camaraderie, and we split games every game. Kevin and we talked about this on his podcast with Roller Dad, but it was so hot there that I had Kevin and Chinny, the other goalie, split halves every game, which is unheard of at their age to be doing that. And they probably thought I was crazy originally, but it was the best thing because it was so hot in the building. And other teams and other countries started adopting that later on in the tournament, but we did it from game 1. So that camaraderie and chemistry between him and the other goalie, Mike Machinsky from Black Ice, was imperative. if we had two goalies that didn't get along or that was selfish, it may not have worked as well. Thank you for being that kind of goalie. And honestly, it made my day to be able to ask someone like you and Chinny and others to be on the team for the first time ever, because I do believe in giving opportunities to guys that have been playing role their whole lives to be on this team. And Greg had the luxury of being on it for 150 years, but some guys only get 1 year on it. And some guys never get to play on it. And it is a huge honor.
I mean, Greg, go ahead if you had something.
Yeah, no, I mean, like Tim said, I did play for a long, long time, and I never took it for granted. You never know when your last time is going to be. And then, obviously towards the end, I'm like, all right, this is it. This is the last tourney, but you just take so much pride in it. And, each year I worked my tail off so I could, have a shot at making that team, and best years of my life. So I'm glad you got to experience it. It's awesome.
Well, and I don't think we quite touched on it, but just the whole getting when Double I's had a camp, it's an honor to be invited, and so as a 22-year-old hearing that and getting that invite, and it's in Colorado, I kind of was walking around with my chest out a little bit, like I'm trying out for USA. And so it was an honor. And so the next year when I didn't get the invite, it was very disheartening. I was very discouraged. Like, why the hell? Like, I'm in the championship. I'm playing the Snipers again. We lose. I had a great tournament. I'm not. So, again, growing up, maturing, I needed to mature for a couple more years, and Chinny, man, that guy's awesome. I feel like him and I are pretty similar. Same with Humes at Lindenwood. I feel like we're three of the most kind of like, I'm saying this, normal-ish goalies that, are around and stuff. I don't know a ton of goalies. McCollum, again, just goes back to what we were saying. McCollum, when I split time with him in Toronto a couple of years ago, he was awesome, man. And he's a pro. That guy's getting paid to play. And he's just, I'm coming to the bench. He's nursing a sore ankle, and he's saying, good job, keep kicking and stuff. And so, back to your point, Tim, to bring it all together within a window of 12 days with guys who, Kettler's on Alkali, Travis is on PAMA, KJ and Billy are on Black Ice. You got Siggy and Kavai on Snipers. These guys don't play together, so you're bringing this group, and, you kind of got it sectioned off where, this line will be familiar. This line will gel. This line will get it together. But yeah, it's really kind of an art of a selection process. And, going back a couple of years, that's what I, apologize to Dan and Joe for was, hey, you guys had a job to do. And I'm sorry that my short-sightedness didn't see that. You got to pick the guys that you believe on and off the rink are going to be the best product to represent USA and to bring home the gold.
Yeah. It's funny. I remember one year, Greg, we were joking around with the old Fierce team. I remember Pete Messina and a bunch of the guys, a bunch of guys hadn't made the team, and those guys are all, they're all at the airport drinking beers in the airport together, a group of guys that didn't make it. And every single one of them is telling stories of why they should have made the team. Like, it's just natural. We're all competitive. When I didn't get to coach that team for years, my attitude was like, how the frick am I not coaching this team? Of course, and time came and I got to do it, and it's all of us, it's why we're, I think, at the level we've been at in our sport individually is because we're all competitive, right? So you don't get to this point if you're not.
Sometimes your entitlement kicks you in the ass a little bit when you need it most, so absolutely.
I want to ask you some speed round questions, Kevin. Just throw out the answers here for us. So favorite movie?
Oh, that's tough. I really like Clockwork Orange. I know it's kind of a creepy, weird, off-the-wall one, but I'd never seen anything like it the first time I saw it, and it's really good. So Stanley Kubrick's a genius.
Star Wars or Star Trek?
Star Wars.
Mac or PC?
Probably Mac at this point in my life.
If you're on a plane, do you recline the seat? Yes or no?
No.
Okay. Who was your favorite goalie as a kid?
Oh, I really liked Olaf Kolzig. It was like a little bit before my time, and I really liked Felix Potvin because he had those pads. I got to watch Patrick Waugh all the time, though. I like Waugh. I liked a lot of goalies as a kid.
Okay.
I like Jiggy, too.
Colorado or Missouri?
Oh, you're gonna get me freaking crucified here, man. Colorado. It's nice to wake up and to drive to work and just see the mountains. So Colorado.
And along with that same topic, Old Chicago or Lions choice?
It's a weird. It's a weird one.
Two different foods.
A little bit. I'll go Old Chicago.
What makes you feel better? A big glove save or that sneaky poke check when a guy gets in and tight on you?
Wow. I like the poke check. It just disrupts everything.
Yes, it does. And
Best locker room guy
you've done that to me plenty of times.
Best locker room guy. Casey Escarcega.
If you're in a game, $1 million game, who's the last guy you want to have a penalty shot on you with 2 seconds left in a tie game? Who's the last guy you want to see?
It's a tie between Hawkins and Whitey.
If you could pick 2 D-men you want to see standing in front of you in a game, who would those 2 D-men be? And we'll say no Connex players, this way you don't feel guilty of any of your own guys. Non-Connex players.
I love sevens, but I don't think Tommy Tui would be called up. I'll say Burnett and Kavaya.
Okay. Greg?
I know. Do we want to touch on Lindenwood at all, Tim? I
Yeah.
know we're running a little late, but any good stories from Lindenwood that you could share? Just some, maybe traveling or a Friday night in the Lou, maybe at Lloyd and Harry's, or
I remember when Thompson met Thompson at Bobby's. That was fun.
Yeah. So there was a year we all a lot of the
alumni game.
Yeah, we came in for we actually got inducted to the Hall of Fame at Lindenwood, so that was pretty cool.
No biggie.
And yeah, not a big deal.
Not a big deal. I had my hoodie on the other day.
So we ended up getting inducted, and that weekend Ron actually set up Ron Bielstein set up an alumni game between our old team and the current team. So that was pretty cool. I think we lost pretty late in the game.
It was like 5-4. It was a really good game.
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun.
We didn't cut the bench or anything, and guys were drinking. So I mean, we did pretty good.
What's that goalie's name again? It's Ryan something, isn't it?
Ryan Viamontes and Brian Coleman.
Coleman.
Yep.
I think Coleman lives here now.
I just moved there. I saw. Yeah,
I saw him at RMR like 2 months ago when things were going on, and I remember thinking, I'm asking my brother, I'm like, did you play against that goalie in PIHA? I couldn't remember why he looked familiar.
He was on the Cobras during PIHA.
And then like a week later, I'm like, that's the guy from Lindenwood.
So he's a character. But so we ended up playing those guys, and then we went out to the bars afterwards, and I met Thompson Teague. So I remember we had a picture.
Did he play for California?
Yeah.
He played for California or State Wars. Yeah.
I was going through it was CJ Bateman's birthday on Monday. I was trying to find some pictures of him, but I saw the Thompson and Thompson picture, so
funny.
It made me Thompson twins, huh?
Yeah.
Hold me now.
Thompson squared.
So let's mention real quick. So Kevin, not to cut you off. So Kevin, he does a podcast himself. I'm sure most of you know, and those haven't have to check it out. Roller Dad News. We mentioned Rob Woods earlier, who was another Colorado goaltender. Wow. There's that old Lindenwood picture, all the blondies.
Blonde bombers, except for Adam Aiken. Not a good look.
But, you guys do the Roll Dad News podcast, which is, this one here is obviously more generalized about state wars for the most part and some other stuff. But that one is more all about the sport, everything cool going on, state wars, Norwich tours, overseas stuff.
College.
In the life of roller hockey, kind of awesome stuff. And you guys do an amazing job with that. So why don't you touch on for a quick second, just, how people can check you guys out with that and stuff. So some of our fans can become fans of yours as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for throwing that out there. We have an Instagram page at Roller Dad News. I know Jordan Hamps is doing the Twitter page. So we do some tweets, and I believe Rob does some Facebook. So I do the least amount of stuff probably for those guys. I just kind of reel people in to get the interviews and stuff. Rob had this idea 3 years ago and said, hey, you know, what if we have this platform for everything roller hockey, you know, all these updates, news, tournaments going on. And I looked at him, I said, that sounds great. Like, I don't know where you're going to find the time to do it, but I'm on board. So that's kind of how it all started. And, you know, I always give a lot of credit to Rob. He is an engine himself who keeps this train going. And, it's amazing. A couple of years down the line, I think he's got 7,000 or 8,000 followers on the Instagram page. He's got people, you know, shouting him out from New Zealand, from England, from Spain, from Italy. So when you see collectively how big and at the same time how small our sport is in the world scheme of things, it's incredible. And so for us to kind of connect dots and bridge gaps for people who don't have either, you know, the information or, you know, the knowledge to get to some of these leagues to look things up, he puts these posts together that are seamless. And, you know, if you're interested in the French league, you can go look at the page for the French league standings. So he's awesome. He does a lot of it, and he's awesome. Like I said, I'm just a pretty face who gets to reel in some of the guys I've played with and against for some of these interviews that we do. We've got a really interesting guest coming up for next week. So I'll leave it at that. DiMartino's dropping tomorrow, PJ, but we got a really interesting guest for next week. So
awesome. That's great
we'll
stuff.
That's it. So, yeah,
you guys had Darren from Narch on the other day as well.
Yeah, we talked to Darren. He's funny listening to him talk about Joe Cook and Siebel and their heydays. That was a lot of fun, and just kind of the progression of Narch and how all that stuff went and whatnot. And yeah, cool. Darren, we reminisced about Toronto, the year you guys beat Alkali in the final. I was on the Robo cameras that year, and I think it was you, Greggy. I got a nice. I was in the Jumbotron camera, and I got you going right around the benches and back the other way when you guys were on a power play. So
okay, cool.
It's good to talk to D for a little bit. Yeah, we try to. We don't want to play favorites to anybody, and that's it. Sometimes it gets tough with brands within the industry, within tournaments. But we try to be as like nonpartisan as possible. You know, we try to kind of give everybody their spotlight and promote everybody, because in the grand scheme of things, there's brands and there's tournaments, but at the same time, it boils down to, it is our sport. It is, universal that people love the sport that we love. And we just want to connect, people to some of these awesome players and personalities, like I know Travis's podcast was a big hit. People got to, know Travis a little bit, know his, genuine kind of love for what he does in the wine industry and stuff, and it was awesome, man. It was really, really cool. So we've been fortunate to be in quarantine to kind of rip out some content and get some podcasts and stuff for people. So yeah, it's been a fun few years doing that. We get some live streams going on. We're at some tournaments. So yeah, absolutely. Cool. Again, thanks for letting us plug that a little bit.
Awesome.
Yeah, man.
Well, we really appreciate you taking the time out of your busy work day to from cleaning air conditioning vents and toilets.
Yeah,
and
I got vents calling my name right now. Yeah. No, it's cool what you guys are doing too. I think this is definitely something that, not necessarily for like our listeners, but for more kind of like the families that you guys have. This has been really cool to get the people on that you guys have, and it's a twice weekly thing. So if you don't catch one, you can catch the next one, and so you guys have been doing really good, and honestly, you kind of have been making us want to like get a little bit better too. So it's all good, and I'm glad that you guys have been doing this, and it's nice to see you, Tim, and you, Greg. And again, Greg, congrats on the baby that's on the way, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, man. Yeah, we're excited. We're excited this October.
I heard you say, Tim, future snipers with Okada's.
Yeah, I hope so.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see,
We got a girls division too, Greg, either way. So we'll be set,
Yeah.
All right, Kev. Well, you have a great rest of the day, and stay safe out there. And we'll hope we'll see you in a few months in the PAMA Pro division. We'll talk soon, buddy.
Yeah, take care.
You guys take care. Thanks again, man. You guys are awesome, and we'll see you when we see you, okay?
All right, buddy.
Man.
Take care.
Stay safe. Thanks.
Bye.
All right. We ran a little over there. Kevin gets going there and is a great guest. And we could talk, I think, for years with Kevin Dwyer about all his accomplishments and things he's got going on in the sport. But I felt it was important to really dive right into all that cool stuff they got going on in Colorado at the skate cities. That grassroots stuff's going on there. It's pretty awesome stuff and has been for many, many years. Shout out to the Ingram family for a lot of stuff they do at the grassroots level.
Yeah, I'm glad we touched on that. A lot of people don't know about what goes on in that area. It's awesome to see. I love the skate program that they have. The new beginners, they get a pair of skates when they sign up, so that's really cool. And they all have their own little travel teams, all their club teams, and they all meet up at the arena and battle it out. And then the best kids from there play on their travel teams. So that's so cool.
Awesome.
I think it's awesome.
That's awesome. All right. Well, we're going to wrap it up here. And another great one. Nick Okada was a great guest. Always great catching up with Nick and Kevin. Again, 2 great 90s. And, we hope everyone has a rest of the good day today. And hope I get outside a little bit now, Greg. It's nice weather.
Yeah, I'm going to
enjoy a little bit
head
of it.
outside as well. Yeah.
And then enjoy the Friday and the rest of the weekend. And we'll see you guys next week on State Wars Hockey Podcast. So
take care, guys. Thanks.
Close it out here, boys. Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is PJ Cavalla, the voice of State Wars Hockey, and you are watching the SWH podcast brought to you by Glass Half Full Productions. Thank you to all of our amazing sponsors: Mission Bauer, Tour, Alkali, La Beta, Rink Rat, Conix, Warrior, Monkey Sports, Yord Watches, Car Shield, Rocket Puck, Wraparound, and Top Shelf Targets. We look forward to seeing you all on the rink soon.